What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. Our brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Maybe I'm a little young, but you don't know what I've become. Can't you see it in my face? But even living in disguise, but you can see the killer in my eyes. I've got a look you can't escape. Poco no mirai wa, dare ni mo wakare.
Good morning. How are we doing this morning? I'm excited. I don't have to go to work this morning. I'm a little bit, I don't know what you'd call it. I don't even have my coffee yet this morning. I don't know how we're going to have coffee with people, and I don't even have my coffee yet this morning. So at some point in time during this stream, my coffee should be ready. The wife and I are getting around a little bit, I guess, slower this morning because, neither one of us are having to go to work. We're leaving on our little weekend getaway here in a few hours. And so it's a chill day, right? Chill day. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a few just little nonsensical things, some just, stuff to kind of make us laugh, whatever. Then we're going to get into this whole SunnyV2. We're going to talk about why people, for whatever reason, have lost their ever-loving mind when it comes to Chris Tyson. It doesn't make sense to me. But we're going to get into that, right? I just opened my morning Monster drink. I know a lot of people do the whole, what do you call it, energy drinks and stuff. I just can't. it hurts my stomach. It just tears me up. So anyway, I can't do that. So we had a really good show last night over on Dave's. We had we were supposed to Review Tech, Rich, over from Review Tech USA was going to be joining us. We were going to talk about this impromptu boxing match that was supposed to have occurred, or is supposed to be occurring rather, I'll put it that way, August the 1st. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But due to some things that I guess kind of out of Rich's hands, he wasn't able to join us, but we are going to rebook. We're going to reschedule that and get him in there just as quick as we possibly can. Let's see what else here. Let me pull this down here out of the way for just a minute. Put this over here. Just let you guys know that I am in the Discord. So if any of you guys would like to have a conversation with me this morning, since we are a little bit slower paced today, now's a really good time. Now will be a really good day to call in and just hop into the waiting room, and I will get to you as quickly as I can. Let's get some of the, I guess, the YouTubey things, whatever, out of the way right off the bat. You get your Oatmeal for Brains, right? Shirts, coffee mugs, I don't know what all, hoodies, you name it. We've got all kinds of stuff in there. We got the coffee bean merch now that Ren did for us. So it says your coffee bean. See, there's one on display there right now. But there's just a whole wide variety of stuff over there. All proceeds go to the philanthropy project that I'm doing here. So give that a shot. If you've been watching my videos, if you've been watching my streams, and you like what you see, I would appreciate a subscription, right? And maybe if you're feeling really froggy, put on that notification bell too. Occasionally I will go in there and look at my analytics and try to kind of see, and it seems like most of the people that come watch my stuff are subscribers, but there are a few of you. There are a few of you that come in and watch, and you may be part of the replay crew, as they say, or whatever, the VOD squad, whatever. There's different things they call themselves. That come in and watch it after the fact, because you can't necessarily, for when I'm live is not conducive with your schedule, and I appreciate that. I just appreciate that you watch and whatever, but hopefully I'll earn that subscription as well. So maybe we'll get there, because remember, if we can get to 1,000 subs by the 1st of July, I'm gonna cut my hair off, right here live on a morning stream. So, if you'd like to see that, let's work towards getting that. All right, so let's get into some of this stuff. Then I'm going to go grab some coffee. Tuxa says, Pickleton, I'm rooting for Rich, but I'm open to surprises. Let's see if Jeremy punches as fast as he talks. Yeah, well, Jeremy doesn't talk real fast. But neither do I. I'm a pretty slow talker myself, but I don't know. Something just tells me, based on past experiences with Jeremy, he's probably not going to be, he's not going to commit to the exercise program, or this whole project period. I don't see that happening. I could be surprised. I could be. But there again, who knows, right? Abby saying penis. Well, sure. Yeah, I guess he's got one, Abby. I don't know. I'll defer to your judgment on that one. Anyway, all right, guys, let's get into the show. Enough chit chat or whatever, and then like I said, at some point we'll take a little break and we'll go get a cup of coffee, and then we'll start part 2 of the show. So here we go. Good night. Hang on here. Oh yeah, because I didn't go in there and set the browser because I'm hang on a second here. Let's try it now. There we go. All right. So Daddy Orange is saying, hey, we need to have a talk. Can you explain to us how we got lemons here? Yeah, that would be a little bit of something there. We would really need to have a little bit of a conversation on, I'm thinking. Well, D-Max returned to streaming yesterday over on his Twitch. And I was able to join in on him. He was playing some Fortnite. My work day ended, and he was still going, and I was able to hop in around with him. We were playing, how we call it, 4-man squad, I guess, whatever. We actually won the round. Had a good time. I hadn't played Fortnite and I don't know. It's probably been over a year, maybe. But anyway, as you can see here, we've got some clips here. So let's take a look at, because it looks like Max was being Max. Oh Lord, he's playing with this. What are those things called? The keys. Is that what that's called? The keys, key swords, key sword.
That was hard on my jaw.
I wonder why. I wonder why it was hard on your jaw. Max.
It's this. Look at this.
I'm looking.
Look at this.
Okay.
Look, this is the fucking gritty.
Cool t-shirt, by the way.
It's just you're just doing this, right? It's pretty much just like.
He does that so well,
That's
doesn't he?
it, isn't it? It's stupid. This is not a dance. This is how you go when you're about to creep on children.
Whoa. Max, come with the nuclear takes here. Look at him. He's a dancer. Something tells me Max misses his nightclub years, right? Is that it, Max? Are you missing your nightclub years, brother? Maybe you need to go get you a night in the club or something. Maybe you need to go out and have some fun, brother. Get out and mingle amongst the youths of America. So got an article here from Dexter, I never get whatever. Says here that the 100 most influential people of 2023, and they've got Mr. Beast. Says when we worked together to raise the funds to plant 20 million trees and remove 30 million pounds of plastic from the ocean through the Team Trees and Team Seas campaigns, his optimism was infectious. He's constantly raising the bar for creators, whether it's through recreating Squid Game in real life or paying for the eye surgeries of 1,000 blind people. He doesn't really understand small thinking or complacency. I don't know what he'll do 10 years down the road, but I know it won't be status quo. Well, that's very nice. But, you know, of course, he only does that to make money because he's one of these, he's a horrible person. You know, we've covered that. Mr. Beast is a horrible person. He only does the charity stuff to get more money. He's duping everybody. He's a horrible. Oh, KH Coffee Bean Tank Top Woman Racerback. Well, thank you for the merch purchase there, K Hook. I assume that was from you. She had messaged me last night and was trying to buy one, but she was having some difficulties. I think the store may have been having a little bit of a little problem, whatever like that. But anyway, thank you for the purchase. We do appreciate you. And that's awesome. Thank you so much. I hope everybody that has bought something said that they really, really love the merch. That is very, very comfortable. So anyway, what is this? D-Max and Abby are planning a trip to Vegas. Well, that sounds like it could end in nothing but problems. Why does the Hangover movie keep coming into my mind on something like that? Am I crazy, y'all, or does that sound like something that would actually happen if Abby and D-Max were to go to Vegas together? Oh, okay. So on to the little funny things this morning. Yeah, just don't get stuck on the roof. Exactly, Mad Max. Exactly, don't get stuck on the roof. So this cat here has reinvented the wheel. He literally has taken the wheels and made them square. Let's see how this turns out for him. All right. Do you see what's happening? Right. The tires are actually these, I guess the rubber strips on the outside of these metal frames. And so they're like tank tracks, right? So they're just kind of rolling, like the tank tracks do. A little bit loud. I'll tell you something. Here's the problem with something like this, right? If you're just riding like on a little bike path or whatever like this here in a park or whatever, where it's fairly smooth, whatever, this would be fine, right? But if you do anything where that's uneven or whatever, straight up, you're going to have some problems, because that thing is going to beat you to crap if it would even go, which I doubt, honestly, if it would. But anyway, I guess good on for you. I don't know. Everybody knows Red Bull, right? Red Bull's got wings. Well, Red Bull put one of those BMX skate park type things. Yeah, they put it on a balloon, and they've got it way up in the air, and we've got some people here fixing to do some tricks. This is insane. Look at this. Well, let me turn that music down because we don't want that. But look how high up they are. This is insane, guys. Now, I did notice that these professionals are wearing a parachute. So if something happened, right, and they went too high up and they went over one of the rails or whatever, you can see the parachute there on the guy's back or girl. I don't know, the person's back. I should have said, I guess, but that's insane. That would literally cause me to lose my Cheerios being up that high and looking over. I don't stop. I don't necessarily, heights don't really bother me per se, but something like that would definitely, I would have some queasiness on that one. No lies about that. Anyway. All right. So this next story, this one kind of bothered me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Cause I'm really a big softy at heart. Right. But so this woman on screen, her name is Carly Bird. She had a garden where she would grow food, and she helped feed over 1,600 people. It was just like, it was a charity. She did this to help people. She gave them, meals and what have you, right? So wholesome, good, wholesome, nice person, right? Evidently, someone didn't like what she was doing, and they salted her garden, right? So she cannot grow anything in her garden anymore. That's just horrible.
I'm absolutely heartbroken. Someone's jumped over in the night and put salt all over the land. That means everything I've planted won't grow. And I can't replant on it because it won't grow. So all the hours and hours and hours of work that we've put in is now dead. And they've done it everywhere.
This is horrible.
How could you do that? Literally.
I don't know how. I do not understand. I do not understand how there can be such horrible people in the world to where it's not enough for them to be miserable. They have to go out of their way to make other people miserable as well. They're not content with just in their own little space, doing their own little thing and be miserable. That's not enough for them. But they actually have to go and purposely do horrible things. And all she was doing was feeding people, giving them a helping hand.
Literally. I hope it makes you happy. I really do. Top person. But you know what? You won't stop me, because I'll just pick it all up and I'll carry on. Okay, I can't plant in this section, but I'll carry on. You won't stop me whatsoever.
So I love there's a British personality, right? Named Jeremy Clarkson. And he was a car reporter, and he had a show over in the UK with a couple of his buddies, or I think mates they call them over there, where they would do these exotic road trips in these vehicles, and they would just have all kinds of hilarious situations. Most of the time, the vehicles were broken down pieces of crap, and it was just one breakdown after another, trying to survive and stuff. Anyway, called the Grand Tour. And anyway, really good show. Well, Jeremy had some falling outs with his boss, and anyway, the Grand Tour got shut down or whatever, and so they actually it was Top Gear. I'm sorry, it was called Top Gear. Then what happened was the three friends made a deal with Amazon, and so they have had a couple of seasons, I think it is, maybe 3 now, where they call the Grand Tour, and they basically do the same thing. Well, Jeremy he's getting on kind of a little long in the tooth, as they say. And he's kind of quasi-retired, and he bought a farm, and they just released the 2nd season of Clarkson's Farm, right? And the name of his farm is called the Diddley Squat. Now, I found this interesting because I have a very soft spot in my heart for farmers, because the bottom line is if farmers don't exist, because The world has become so dependent upon farmers to produce our produce in our stores uh, that if farmers aren't producing, then we are going to cease to exist. And farmers have such a rough rough go of it. They really do. Um, it doesn't matter if they're growing crops or if they're doing some sort of livestock farming. It doesn't matter. It costs them a fortune in fuel costs, labor costs, um, just supplies as far as seed to fertilizer to plant if they're growing crops. If it's livestock, then they have to battle, making sure that the livestock, they get bred, that they have that they if it's cows they calve or whatever type of livestock that they're breeding, and they just have a rough go of it, right? And then when it's all said and done, right? Guess what? They have to take it to market, right? And then the problem is they don't they get literally nothing. Pennies on the dollar per pound for their produce, and then the markets turn around and sell it at an exorbitant amount of money to us, right? So like right now here in the States, it costs a fortune, right? My wife and my grocery bills have went up at right around $50 a week just in grocery prices, right? And we really have not changed our buying habits. We try to buy, as fresh as produce as we possibly can. We try to stay away from processed stuff. We try to eat as healthy as we possibly can. And then on that in itself adds a whole nother thing of do it, right? So, when you see somebody like this that is going out of their way to raise fresh vegetables to be able to give to people to help them when they're struggling a little bit, and to somebody to just go and do that to them is unconscionable. It's unconscionable. And somebody that would do something like this, the karma that you're putting out in the world, right? The whatever you want to call it, right? The seeds of destruction that you're sowing into your life. I cannot, it's unmeasurable to me, right? But this story has went viral. And people have stepped up. There was a GoFundMe set up for this. It says, "Hi, my name is Carly. I have multiple sclerosis and lupus. I know how hard it is I know how hard it's going to be this winter with cost of living. So I transferred my garden to an allotment to provide those on benefits, pensioners, and state pensions, and those on a low income, free organic fruit and vegetables, plus essentials. They receive a large box that contains essential plus enough food, fruit, vegetables, pasta, rice, breakfast, etc. for the amount of people in the household. I made all the platters from old wood, and I grew everything from seed. I'm on disability, so I have to keep the cost down. I can't sit back and watch people struggle, not being able to feed their kids or go without food so they have the heating on. Last year, I went without heating. Having multiple sclerosis with no heating is horrific. Why are we left to live like this?" See, over the UK, they're having a lot of struggles right now too, right? Update. Now you have seen how hard I worked to get this project up and running. Facebook, A Meal of Love with Me. I found everything myself, or I had hounded companies to help. What I raise goes straight back into A Meal on Me. I'd love to be able to raise enough to get things I need to make a difference to others, equipment to make tea and coffee area, equipment to clear woods like a petrol strimmer, a cooking area using gas. We don't have electric, and money to lay weed sheeting. The more I raise, the more things I'm able to get to make this work. Please donate and give me a hand. I have single-handedly fed 190 people, transferred my whole garden to an allotment. Now I got the council on my side and now runner of a good piece of land, all in 4 months. And so her goal was $4,000. Okay. They've raised over 226,000. I'm saying 4,000 pounds. They have now raised over 226,000 pounds for this. Right. So good on her, and good on the community and the world for helping her. Right. Okay. So moving along. So I don't know who the person was or persons that salted that garden to keep her from being able to do what she needed to do. But I literally say this with all my heart. I hope the fleas of 1,000 camels infest your crotch, and you're tormented daily and nightly, and you have no peace in your life. Okay. I'd seen this and I thought we had covered this, but I'm going to trust Purple on this one because she keeps me lined out. This guy had a basement and he decided to turn this basement into an underground eel thing.
This is my underground eel pit. It's underneath my garage. It's an old rainwater cistern that I converted into a fish pond.
All right, water cistern, I'm sorry.
It currently houses 12 American eels and about 5 gar. This first eel is the biggest. This is Crunchwrap Supreme. He's definitely the tamest of the eels. He's always the first one out to eat. But yeah, he comes right up, lets me pick him up, lets me mess with him. But yeah, these are all American eels. They were all actually caught in Maine. A lot of times people eat these, but they also make actually pretty amazing pets. This is my platinum alligator gar, Garlic. He's going to end up, once he outgrows the 500, in the eel pit also. I also have an albino gar named Garfield. This eel here, his name is Shaquille. And then I also have these 3 spotted gar. Right to left, they're Jason, Garados, and Garchomp. But yeah, everyone's doing amazing down here.
You love the names, Crunchwrap Supreme. I don't know, guys. This is a little bit weird to me. I don't know. But you know what? People have unique pets. You know, I'm not, hey, if this is what this, and he's not hurting nobody. He's not impacting nobody. So, dude, you do you with your eels and your gar and just, enjoy life. I'm okay with that, right? Why not? At least he's not a furry. I guess so, Abby. At least he's not a furry. I'll give you that one, hon. Oh, God.
I can still do it, and I'll whip it out when I.
What is this here? What happened here? Tippy Savage. It is an existential expression, a metaphor afforded progression in his life and reality. It's not so much about the wheels on the bus, but the bus itself. That's some pretty deep thought this morning, Tippy Savage. That's pretty deep thought for a Friday morning. Yeah. Thank you for your donation, sir. I tip my hat to you. So this next one, this may be the size keyboard I need to get, honestly. Because this guy over here, it's big enough to where I wouldn't fat finger keyboards or keys so bad. Because I have some pretty big mittens, honestly. I mean, I know it's kind of, I'll put up here next to the camera, you see it. But no, I do. I have some pretty big mittens. And they really, when I put them on my keyboard, they really swallow up my keyboard. And I have a standard size, what is it, 102 keyboard or whatever it is, right? And so I don't know, something like that might be. They ought to have like do they have oversized keyboards? I have to look into that. They had maybe some oversized keyboards. That might be Chunky Monkey. I don't know if my hands would be considered Chunky Monkey hands. They're just big. I mean, they're just, they're back in the day before the rheumatoid arthritis got into my hands and stuff. I could take a basketball and palm it. That was no trick at all. So you had to punch the keys. Well, Purple, I guess you could punch them, hon. No cap on that. So, let's see what else we got here this morning. Yeah, I found this one kind of funny. This is why this is an example of why sometimes being a big muscle, see how muscled up this guy is, why it's not such a bad idea not to be just some sort of big, muscle bound, a person, right? Now, I don't know if you can see it or not, but they put a piece of tape, because this is kind of crappy video, but they put a piece of tape between his shoulder blades. And so he reached up there and he was able to pull it off. I don't know if I would sit there and make too much fun of this cat, because as big as he is, dude, he probably could shove you through one of them lockers. Just saying. Yeah, he may not be able to reach around and pull that tape off his back, but good Lord. So, good morning there. Not your typical mom. You can outrun him. I don't know. I couldn't outrun him, not in this day and age. Good gracious. Oh, this next one. Now, guys, I know it's early. It's a Friday morning. But this next one, I promise you, this may be a little embarrassing. We're fixing to hear some noises. But we're all adults here. Okay, we're not a bunch of little high school giddy kids, right? We're all adults here. So let's act as such and not laugh on this one, okay? Let's be mature here. It says my neighbors don't believe it's the washing machine. So let's listen to this guy's or person's washing machine. Okay. So we're ready to get the second half of our show kind of going here today. And I'm going to kind of get into the meat and potatoes and what have you. We're going to get into this, this whole issue. We're going to go over SunnyV2 video that he did. We're going to be talking about Mr. Beast, his friend Chris. But right quick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break and let me get on some really good music here for you guys. And then what we'll do is I'm going to go get some coffee and we will get into this. So give me about 2 minutes and I'll be right back.
Living every day in your head for free. You can tap away, but I will not hear you scream. You can break the keys, spread your toxicity, your world outside reality. In your room, a little hideaway, but you let it Did I brush you off? Is it your lack of friends? We never met. Even if you pretend, am I in your debt? I don't know you nothing. Don't say something you'll regret. Hate, rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it on me. Hate, rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it on me. Hate, rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it.
Oh, I apologize. I forgot to push the mute button. Thank you so much for taking care of me, guys. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. So let's get into this insanity. Okay. First and foremost, I want to say something before we get into this story. Okay. I 100% believe because I guess for whatever good, bad, or indifferent, I'm part of the quote commentary. I'm viewed as commentary, whatever. Okay, fine, whatever that means. And yes, we criticize people here. And yes, sometimes we take people to task for bad takes, right? Or just being a horrible person. Okay. So this is one of these subjects that is very, very polarizing, right? When you start talking about people who are transgendered, okay? It doesn't matter, quite honestly, what my feelings are about people who are transgendered. It doesn't matter what your feelings are per se about transgendered people. Okay. We're all entitled to our views and our opinions. Okay. Let's get that above. I'm not about stifling speech. I think everybody should be able to say whatever it is that they want to say. But what I would caution you about is this, is when you start criticizing people and you start chastising people about whatever it is. Okay. It could be that they're transgendered, or it could be maybe, I don't know, the people that they try to associate with, or maybe it's the people that they support, or whatever. Okay. You have to be prepared that when you put your opinions and your views out there, that it's going to come back on top of you, right? And the way the internet works is it's usually tenfold. Okay. So you have to be ready. You have to be prepared for that. You have to be, for the lack of a better word, thick-skinned enough to be able to handle it. And sometimes people are not. There are times when people will have come after me, and they say some things that are blatantly untrue. They take it out of context, and that's fine. Whatever. That's on them. That's not on me. And sometimes I have to rant and rave to people in private. I have confidants that I can talk to about things, and I won't ever speak about it publicly, because to speak about it publicly gives that credence to what they're saying, because then you're pointing to it and you're saying, okay, this bothered me, or this upset me, or whatever. And that's not how I choose to conduct myself. But that's me, and that's the way I do things. So, Chris is a longtime staple of Mr. Beast. He has been a part of Mr. Beast's crew almost from the get-go. He has been there when Mr. Beast was just kind of getting his start, until now that Mr. Beast has hit the big time, right? Chris has been there. He's a friend. And a lot of people are talking about how there was this they had started noticing transformations in Chris. Chris had just a few years ago had gotten married to a beautiful young woman. They had started a family. They had a child. A lot of this was all caught on and kind of hyped a little bit on Mr. Beast's channel, as well as Chris's own endeavors on YouTube and stuff, right? So anyway, a little while ago, it is my understanding, I guess Chris and his wife, I guess, parted ways. I don't know if they're actually divorced or if they're just separated right now or what. I don't know. And quite honestly, it doesn't matter. That's their business and their business alone. Okay. So, Chris recently, this was on April the 7th, put out a tweet, says it's never too late to start being yourself. And it's a picture of Chris on the bow of a boat, and it looks like he's in New York City. It kind of looks like the skyline there behind him. And so the comments underneath this are interesting. So, YouTube comes in and says, you're glowing. Chris says, thank you, YouTube. There was a question. I'm confused what you ID as, but you do you, brother, sister, bear, whatever. Chris says, I purposely not come out as any identity. I just disclosed I was on hormones. I'm going to talk more in the future, but for right now, any video claiming identity as X is just speculation. So, Chris, to my knowledge, has not made a statement about any type of, what they see their pronouns are. So, I'm going to try to use Chris as much as possible. If I use he, and it comes out later on that Chris identifies as a she or something, just understand that I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just doing my best to try to cover and put my thoughts out there on this. Okay. So Chris definitely looks like they are happy. They're smiling. If you look at this picture, it's obvious that, they're living their best life. right? And that's all anybody can want or hope for in this world, right? Is to just live their best life. So, but that's not to go, or not to say that there were not detractors. There are some people out there saying some really, really horrific things. Some very, just garbage comments. We're not going to go over them. We're not going to review them. Because to me, I'm not going to give them any type of credence. I'm not going to give them any type of dignity with even showing them. If you guys are interested and want to see it, you guys are more than welcome to, but this old man is not, period. I'm not. Now, so, I don't know how you say this person's name. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Relo Yin. I don't. Anyway, says this new SunnyV2 video feels really invasive for all the wrong reasons. Like, why did you make this? You delved into the man's marriage and shit. Just really off-putting and unnecessary. And of course, he's got a screenshot here of SunnyV2's video that we're fixing to go over. And it's, titled, Why Chris Will Soon Be a Nightmare for Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast responds to this. Says, yeah, this is getting absurd. Chris isn't my nightmare. He's my fucking friend. And things are fine. All this transphobia is starting to piss him off. So good on Mr. Beast. I think that's a very definitive, clear statement saying he's still my friend. Chris is still his friend. It doesn't matter, right? And that's all we could hope in this world, right? That no matter what transformations that a person goes through, that they're still just going to be a friend and a loyal friend at that. And so, good on Mr. Beast for coming out and just speaking definitively on this, right? Leaving no doubt, no questions exactly where he falls on this subject. Okay. Mudahar, which is one of the, I would say, pillars in the commentary field, says, I watched this whole video all the way through, and it's tough. I thought being an adult meant you could do whatever you wanted without hurting anyone else. I'm sure Chris discussed all this with the closest people in their life. In the end, they're just living their life. And I couldn't really put it any better than that. I really couldn't put it any better than that. I think Mudahar, says quite definitively, what I think most of the, I'm going to put it this way, sane people out there, that's just it, right? As long as somebody's decisions are not directly adversely affecting you, right? Why does it matter? If they literally are not coming up and taking a big, huge thump on your chest or punching you in the face or trying to in some other way hurt you physically, what difference does it make what they do with their life? Does Chris transitioning, is that going to cause him to stop loving his child or loving his friends or loving his family? I don't think so. Why would it? Right? What is this? What about Clearwater or revival? What are you coming in here stirring up, Dave? I see he's on his. I see Dave's on his short channel today. Yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed to Dave's Shorts. Dave's Shorts. It's like a channel about Dave's underwear or something, right? Dave's Shorts. And he gives me crap. Segue here for a second. So he gives me crap saying that I have the worst named podcast on the planet, and he decides to name his channel Dave's Shorts. Okay. Yeah. All right. You do you, dude. Exactly, Ziley. Ziley says she's not going to save a sub until he changes the name. Oh, me. Oh, Lord. Oh, let's see here. Pickleton. Well, I think it would actually hurt Mr. Beast's business. Some conservative parents might not want their children watching Chris, but Sunny didn't articulate this well at all. Exactly, Abby. He was laughing at us about name coffee beans. All right, listen, Pickleton. Here's the deal. Like I said at the beginning of this segment, how do I put this? Okay, so yes, you're going to have conservative people out there that do not view. Well, let's just put it this way. Because there's conservative people out there that are not supportive to the LGBTQ community, period. Right? So it wasn't going to matter if Chris came out as transgendered or if he came out as gay or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But the problem is this. And here's my, and these conservative people, they want to talk about how this is not within God's plans. This is this, that, whatever else. Okay. I was raised in the church. Okay. Here's a little fun fact about Peepaw. Peepaw actually went to seminary for a while to become a preacher. Peepaw actually did supply preaching in pulpits, in churches, right? Now, I'm not a biblical scholar. Okay. But here's one thing that did really stick with me. And this is what I try to live my life by above all things. Because there's this little section in there where the Sadducees and the Pharisees were trying to trick up Christ, right? Because that's what Christians base their life on, is right, the life of Christ. Hence the name Christians. And while I consider myself a Christian, I do not subscribe to organized religion, because that's man-made. Your organized religion in churches out there is, to me, this is my opinion, and I know this is one of these third rail topics. You're not supposed to talk politics and religion, all this stuff, right? But religion is man's interpretation of the scriptures and applying laws and rules for their doctrinal teachings. That's why you have so many different churches, because this church has these doctrinal teachings, this church has that doctrinal teachings, but yet they all most of them use the same scriptures. The Catholic Bible has a couple of more books in it than like your King James Version, which is the one that's primarily used by most of your Judeo-Christian church, faith here in the States, right? But anyway, the Pharisees and Sadducees were having a little discussion with Christ, right? And they said, "Hey, what is the greatest commandment?" Right? And so he replied, he says, you're supposed to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and all thy mind. And he says the second one, like unto the first one, is to love thy neighbor as thyself. Right? So we're supposed to love our neighbors as ourselves. He doesn't say, well, you can love them unless they're LGBTQ. Or you can love them unless they're liberal. Or you can love them unless they're conservative. Right? He didn't say that. He says you're supposed to love people. Right? Now, it's not. So, is it going to impact his viewership? Possibly. Possibly, Pickleton. It possibly could impact it. Sure. You're going to have parents out there that do not subscribe to, or do not have, do not believe in and will not support the LGBTQ people. 100%. 100% they can do that. Right? But I guess my question would be this. I would ask them what else they're watching on television. Or what else are they watching on YouTube? But each their own. Everybody can support whoever they want to support. Everybody can love whoever they want to want. That's fine, whatever. So to your point, Pickleton, yes, it's probably going to impact it some. He's probably going to lose some support. But I'll tell you what he's also going to do. He's also going to gain some support too. See, that's the thing, right? He comes out with a hard, Mr. Beast comes out with a hardline stance. Jimmy comes out and says, this is Chris. This is my friend. This is not my nightmare. He definitively says, I'm going to support my friend. Period. Now, there's going to be some, yeah. Where will the scales go? Which way will it go? Time will tell. I would say he's probably not going to see any decline in anything. Period. That's what I'll say. So let's get into this video by SunnyV2.
The Chris Tyson situation could become a complete disaster for Mr. Beast's brand. However, it
possibly this video could become a complete total disaster for SunnyV2.
May also,
this stream and my stances on these things could become a complete total disaster for me. That's just kind of how it is, right? But anyway, let's continue on.
Provide some unique benefits. So let's begin by going over the drama before explaining exactly how this will impact the Mr. Beast channel. In mid-2022, fans began to notice that Chris Tyson was changing. In the early days, he represented the quintessential Southern gun and truck loving dude, yet beginning in March 2020,
the quintessential Southern truck and gun loving dude. I'm from the South. I have guns. And truck stuff. Does that mean am I quintessential? And if so, and if I don't have a problem with this, okay.
2022, Chris began to display increasingly feminine traits, making tweets such as, "I finally got my nails done at a nail tech." Additionally, Chris would highlight that his facial appearance had changed significantly since the start of the pandemic, which accompanied another post reading, "Okay, so in 4 different customs I had to prove I was myself because I, quote, look nothing like my passport pic, so much that I'm considering updating my passport. Do you see any resemblance?" Prompting reply,
So let's go back here just a little bit here to this. Is there a difference there? Yeah, his face is not as round, but that could be because he lost weight, right? And he doesn't have facial hair. That's the only difference I see. That his hair's a little bit longer. He's lost some weight, and he's not wearing facial hair. So anyway, what's this? Hey, Voltage Mac. Normalize men taking care of their fingernails. You know, my wife goes about every 2 to 3 weeks. She goes with her. She's got a friend from work, and they go to the nail salon or whatever, and they do their nails or what have you, right? And I have thought about going and getting my nails done, right? Getting them shaped up and, you know, whatever they do, and getting the cuticles all taken care of, whatever. Because I'm all time having where my cuticles, I don't know what you call it, where they split and whatever, and they get sore and they hurt. So I don't know. I might start going. And what if I do? And what if I went in there and I had them put polish on what does it mean because somebody puts polish on their nails? Now, I'm not going to say I would get like hot pink or anything like that or what have you, you know. But, you know, just get a clear coat on them or whatever like that, right? Put a clear coat on there just to kind of protect your nails. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I don't know. I think people just, anyway.
Prompting replies such as, "You went from man to boy." Chris responded by stating, "Nah, to be honest, I just really started taking my mental health seriously and eating better." Yeah.
Okay. So I think we should all eat better, take better care of ourselves, right? I don't take care of our mental health. I don't see any problems.
His Twitter photos kept insinuating that Chris was becoming more feminine, with this same kind of look showing up in his Mr. Beast appearances. For example, on the 6th of January 2023, Beast Reacts uploaded a video titled "I strapped a GoPro to a fish," in which Chris dressed in a way that prompted comments such as, "Chris has been adopting more and more traits that remind me of my grandmother." Okay, so some people just gonna ignore Chris's nails? Chris had to have lost a bet. The look is getting wild. The response to the video then prompted countless viral TikToks, such as this one with 700,000 likes, stating, "How did Chris go from this to this?" While others even made the claim that Carl had turned him gay. Now, this was pretty ridiculous, as Carl isn't even that feminine, and Chris had come out as bisexual years before he and Carl had even met. The true catalyst for Chris Tyson's feminization instead seemed to have come from his marriage.
All right. See, this is one of the drawbacks. This is one of the negatives, right, of becoming and getting some notoriety and popularity. Be it YouTube, be it Hollywood, whatever, doesn't matter. Is that inevitably your family always gets dragged into it, right? I really wish people wouldn't do that. If you have an issue with somebody, keep that issue focused on that person. Don't drag their loved ones into it, their spouse, their children. I don't understand why that's not something we can all agree upon, right? And again, you know, if this is something that Chris felt like they needed to do for their own mental health, then, you know, they should have done it. And I'll just say this too, right? As someone who has lived the majority of their life in the South, we have gotten a lot better here. We've become a lot more tolerant, but there are still these stereotypes out there that exist here in the South. And there is these stereotypes that, you know, you have to be this like beer swilling, tobacco chewing, gun toting, gun rack in your pickup truck, redneck, right? To be in the South. And so people who are gay or they're lesbians or they're transgendered, right? They still can have a rough time of it. Even here in 2023. Because as much as I love the South, as much as I love my fellow Southern kinsmen, we sometimes get mired down in our traditions and our history. And while our traditions and our histories need to be remembered, we don't necessarily always need to keep them. But they need to be remembered because we don't want to go back and we don't want to continue doing some of them, right? We don't need to forget about them, because if you forget about them, then there's a chance that you could possibly go back to them. So they don't need to be held in a place of reverence, okay? So, or memorialized or anything of that nature. But we do need to keep them to where they can be seen and be remembered. So as we can say, we will never go back into this again. But this cat here, this Gustavo, talking about ain't no way bro actually left his wife and kid. Well, if Chris was dealing with what he felt like he needed to do for his own health, mental health, I could see where that could be a strain on a marriage. As someone who's been married for almost 27 years now, there are things that men and women go through, right? That causes a strain on marriage. It's just part of life, right? And I don't know again why this had to be brought up into this video. I don't understand why we have to go in on his family, why this has to be talked about. If he would have stayed more just in line with what his title of his video was, which is how this was going to impact Mr. Beast, because what Chris's personal life and what his relationship with his wife and his child, I don't understand how that, I don't know. Anyway, let's continue watching the video.
In January 2022, Chris would post a photo with his wife to his Instagram, yet after this, the family photo stopped altogether. Fans also noticed that he'd removed his wedding ring, with the ring's absence correlating perfectly with the very first post in which he'd painted his nails. Chris confirmed the split in a post from March 2023 reading, "For a little over a year now, me and Katie have been separated," with this also confirming that Chris's transformation began as soon as his marriage came to an end. Chris went.
And I don't want to be, I guess, overly critical, but this guy's speech, I haven't watched a whole lot of SunnyV2's videos, and maybe that's just the way he talks, but I find it a little bit annoying to me, but whatever.
From lighting campfires and raising a family with his beautiful wife, to now trying to be a wife with his man buns and long nails. As the criticism continued to pile, Chris announced that he'd be taking a break from social media. And while there was a possibility that Chris would make efforts to return to his former self, he'd rather do the opposite and double down on his feminine image, showing up to the Kids' Choice Awards looking like this before.
Hold it.
Continued to pile, Chris announced that he'd be taking a break from social media. And while there was a possibility that Chris would make.
Why was there a possibility? Where do you come up with that conclusion? Would you think that Chris was just experimenting? That he was just, I don't understand that logic at all. Talking about reaching.
Efforts to return to his former self. He'd rather do the opposite and double down on.
Do the opposite, double down. Just double down, right? This right here is an oatmeal brain take.
His feminine image, showing up to the Kids' Choice Awards looking like this, before making the announcement that he'd been doing HRT for approximately 2 months, which according to a quick Google search is the medical process for changing genders. Chris would expand on this by stating, "Informed consent HRT saved my and many others' lives. The hurdles GNC people have to jump through to get life-saving gender-affirming healthcare in a first world country is wild to me. Just let people make informed decisions about their own bodies," which received a positive response from both Carl and MrBeast, who wrote, "Got you, I did one more heart than Carl because I'm a better friend." While his co-workers expressed
Something tells,
positivity, others weren't so welcoming. There goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to.
Why?
Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Weak man time.
I'm not going to even.
Chris responded to this comment by stating, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and GNC folks aren't safe around kids. Tucker begs for me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is so loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate, it's taught by people like you, and my child will only know love. I know."
Exactly.
I'm going to be a great parent, and so is every other person who puts the love of their child before everything. I made this decision because I wanted to show up as my best and happiest self for him. In a way, this was for Tucker. Chris's
I don't understand why people aren't able to. If this is what Chris needed to do to be in his best state of mind, right? And to be the best version of himself or herself, or whatever ultimately where Chris lands, then that means that Chris will be the best parent to that child. Period. End of discussion. End of story.
response received some positivity such as, "I'm convinced you're an amazing father. Tucker is lucky to have you and also lucky to have all of those who surround and support you in his life, as well as I adore that, I'm glad you made that decision. It's so much easier to be a parental figure when you're not struggling with dysphoria, yet he'd also receive an equal amount of backlash. You ripped apart your family and took a father figure away from your son just so you could paint your nails and act zesty. Pathetic. He will get torn apart at school, won't want to have friends around his house, a life full of difference and being alone."
I love how people have these crystal balls and how they can see in the future and they know what's going to happen to this child. Something tells me they are projecting their own life experiences. What? Did you have a friend, Craig C? Did you have a friend in school that you turned out maybe had two mommies or two daddies, and then all of a sudden you weren't allowed to play with your friend anymore at school because the gayness might rub off on you or something? Was that it, Craig? And so that's what you've been taught? Was that it, Craig? You might catch the gay cooties? Stupid ass people.
Must have missed the point in that tweet. How's this for him when you're depriving him of a father figure?
You know, I think about all these kids, sadly, right? They grow up without both parents, right? Because one of the parents either due to that parent's choices, or maybe due to circumstances beyond that parent's control, or maybe one of the parents just pass away, right? Children who grow up in a single parent household, right? And so the one parent has to do double duty, right? I used to have a mindset, honestly, truthfully, and I'll be real blunt with you guys about something. I will be lay bare my soul, if you will. There was a time and frame in my period in my life back in the distance, some time back. I believed that a same-sex couple raising a child was horrible. Was horrible. But as time went by and I started looking at the bigger picture, and we have children who are growing up in foster care, or they are in state-run institutions, orphanages, things of that nature, and they are not getting the love and attention that they would get in a home, right? And that's not to say that there are not people in these state institutions that do the best they can. And I'm not saying that there are not some really awesome foster parents out there too. I'm not saying that. Okay. But a child growing up inside of a home, in a stable home with two parents that love that child and care for that child and nurture that child, right? What does it matter if it's two mommies or two daddies, right? A child had two adults that are loving, nurturing, taking care, period. And you know what? I've seen situations where, like, for example, you'll have two female parents, a situation where they're raising a child. And if it's a male child and they need, because let's be honest, okay? There are only certain things that a man can teach and pass on to a boy as he's growing up, right? And the same thing, there's only certain things that a woman can teach about being a woman to a young lady or to a girl, right? These couples, same-sex couples, right, will find somebody, right, to help pass that on to them, that will teach these. I've seen it. It's does it matter if the lessons come from the parent itself or from a trusted friend of the family, that, you know, that special uncle or aunt or whatever it is, right? Does it really matter? I don't think so. I think the thing that matters is that that child is being taken care of, that that child is loved, that that child has stability in their home. That's all that should matter. I don't get this.
Although Chris wasn't altered by these comments, as he'd once again reiterate his certainty in a new post reading, "It's never too late to start being yourself," which received praise from MrBeast as well as Nolan and Carl. However, these comments also added extra fuel to the fire. In a few years, look back at this thread and remember they were never your friends. Only yes men cowards. Hope you come out of this safe.
So they can only be their friends is if you have the heterosexual mindset, right? The straight Christian alpha male, because he's M alpha, so I'm sure he's one of these red pill alpha assholes. I just...
MrBeast responded to this with a simple opinion irrelevant ratio, to which the original commenter would state, "I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me. I'll still rest easy knowing that I'm not a coward who idly sits by watching my friend ruin his own life."
And who are you? See, that's what I'm saying. Who are these people? Who is this EM Alpha that they know what's best for? If EM Alpha, if you had a friend, which I question if you have friends, but if you had a friend that you've known since your childhood, that you've grown up with, that you had experiences with, and that was your, a lifelong friend, as they say. So you're saying that you would turn your back on them, that you would walk away from them, because if you sit there and try to sit there and tell them that, no, what you're doing is wrong, you're wrong, you shouldn't do this, whatever. And so that friend says, well, no, this is what I got to do to be, healthy, to have the right mindset. You just walk away because they're not listening to you. Sounds like to me you're not listening to them. Sounds like to me you're being a horrible friend. I don't understand this mindset. I really don't.
Life. In some ways, it was nice to see the boys standing up for Chris on Twitter. However, the situation has already begun to change the dynamic within the videos. For example, in a recent live stream titled Opening 1,000 Mystery Art Boxes, Chris would once again dress in quite a feminine way, and while everybody participated as usual, the energy and vibe didn't feel nearly as smooth as it normally does. It felt as though there was an unaddressed elephant in the room, and
maybe it's because therefore
everybody was in their head, as opposed to being in the present moment enjoying each other's company. Maybe everybody was simply too busy opening packages, but Chris did make these bizarre jokes about Jimmy being female, making him incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh my god, Jimmy, look, they drew you. Jimmy, they drew you so well. It looks just like you.
Oh, yes.
Oh my god, it's Jimmy.
How did fan art? This is what we were looking for. Be brave, be honest, be kind, Mr. Beast. That is my tagline.
Becoming even weirder when each member started to pay each other compliments.
Hey, nice.
So, Pink, I don't know. I really think you're really reaching here, dude. It just looks like a bunch of goofballs being goofball opening up boxes.
Shirt. Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Hey, nice shirt.
Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Thanks.
Excuse me. Why hasn't anyone told me nice shirt this morning? Seriously, why haven't you told me nice shirt? Let's all be, what would he call it? Strained. Let's all be weird, right? Awkward.
Nice shirt.
Nice shoes.
For the most part, the live stream was devoid of awkward moments. However, it would act.
Hang on. Devoid of awkward moments, mostly. But what? Hang on. 624. Hang on here.
Change the dynamic within the videos. For example, in a recent live stream titled Opening 1,000 Mystery Art Boxes, Chris would once again dress in quite a feminine way, and while everybody participated as usual, the energy and vibe didn't feel nearly as smooth as it normally does.
Doesn't feel normally smooth as it normally does. That's his own words. He's showing a tweet or a comment on the stream saying, probably the most awkward stream ever made, to push his point that it was awkward. Right? Let's see what he says again.
Art boxes. Chris would once again dress in quite a feminine way, and while everybody participated as usual, the energy and vibe didn't feel nearly as smooth as it normally does. It felt as though there was an unaddressed elephant in the room, and therefore everybody was in their head, as opposed to being in the present moment.
So come over here to, where was we at? 624. Listen what he says here.
However, it would act as fodder for another 100 million views where it was devoid of.
Nice shirt.
Nice shoes.
For the most part, the live stream was devoid of awkward moments.
For the most part, did he just contradict himself? It sounds like he just contradicted himself. Because he talks off that segment, he talks off about how it was awkward Elephant in the room. He's showing tweets showing awkward stream. And then he turns around and he says, ChatGPT wrote the episode. Maybe, Abby. I don't know. But the dude's sitting there contradicting himself. I'm sorry.
However, it would act as fodder for another 100 million views worth of drama and criticism. Chris likely believes that people will slowly adapt to his new appearance over time.
Likely believes? Well, either they will accept him or he won't. He has no control over that. Chris has got to be Chris. Whatever that is. Chris is the only one that can make that decision. And either people will accept Chris or they won't accept Chris. Just like me. People will accept me the way that I am, or people won't accept me the way that I am. Period. There's nothing that I can say or do. If a person decides that they don't like me, and then they just don't like me. I don't cry about it. I don't lose sleep about it. I don't go, boo-hoo-hoo, why don't you like me? And I'm sure Chris isn't either. Probably the only one that Chris is concerned about is probably his friends and his family. That's it. And he's not worried about some randos on Twitter or randos making comments under a video or somebody named SunnyV2 making a dumbass video on YouTube about it.
But is this really going to happen? Well, maybe. It's difficult to say as the situation is fairly unique, especially when considering Chris's reputation and influence. However, if Chris continues to transition, would it be unreasonable to say that he could jeopardize some of the personality traits which made him a successful member in the first place?
Why would his personality... Huh? Max. Is Max here? Is Max in chat? D-Max, are you in chat? Are you here this morning? I'm not seeing him in chat. Maybe he's not. He's not here. I wished he was here. Because he's my go-to on understanding some of this stuff. But I don't understand if a person goes through HRT, does that change their personality? Does that change who they are?
Perhaps the opposite will happen, and he'll instead pick up new personality traits that better resonate with the current MrBeast audience. This was put forward in many comments supportive of Chris, who implied that there'll be millions of queer kids who look up to him, although this doesn't necessarily mean that it'll add any value to the videos. MrBeast has likely cultivated a
This kind of goes in with that whole thing about this mindset of people saying, I don't understand why no, I'm not.
Massive LGBT audience, all of whom are already watching anyway, and if we've learned anything from Hollywood in recent years, it's that adding over-the-top LGBT characters for the sake of relatability rarely works as intended, and is often nothing more than a distraction from the premise of the movie or video.
All right, let me address that. There have been instances where shows, in my opinion, have had characters that are from the LGBTQ community where it's all about their sexuality, right? And they're definitely pushing an agenda, right? It's a very politically driven show in that aspect. But then there's shows out there that have characters in there that are from the LGBTQ community, and the character is a great character that is gay or is lesbian or is transgendered, right? Their sexuality is not the whole makeup of their character, right? That's just part of who they are. And the character's so well written, it doesn't matter, right? So when this statement here is made, let me pull this back up here on the screen here for just a second, right? Okay. So when you have something like this here, right? It says movies and shows today just make characters gay for the sake of it. No character development, no good story. There's some truth to that statement, right? I wished all this other stuff wasn't blurred out, right? Because it seems like to me SunnyV2 here is taking and cherry picking for the sake of, because it fits the narrative that he's trying to push, and he's not. Why hide out all this other stuff and highlight that, right? It says so much shit today just pushes an agenda and forgets that people watch stuff for entertainment. That in itself is a very innocuous statement, and it's fine. And I agree with some of that, right? Right? Just like, for example, sometimes they'll take and they'll rewrite a show and they'll change a character's gender, right? Because they want to be more inclusive. I think personally, why not create a positive, inspirational character to represent that demographic, right? Why co-op an existing character? Okay. That's the only thing I'm going to say about that. I don't, that's the only thing to me that feels a little bit of placating that I wish they wouldn't do. But here's what I also know, right? Is you have people from the LGBT community that for the longest time got zero representation in movies and on TV. Right? Just like, and so all they're asking for is that they have some representation so that when they turn on the screen, they see people who are gay or lesbian or trans, right? That are dealing with struggles to understand, and they can look at that and they can relate to it and say, yes, I went through this, or maybe I'm going through that, and they might be able to glean some insight and maybe some, help to make a decision with whatever it is that they're going through in work and life at that particular time, right? That's all they're asking for. And I think that's a reasonable ask. I don't think that's a bad thing at all, right? But what I'll say is people should not be upset, honestly, that there's these shows out there that do have characters that it's all about their sexuality and not about the character itself. They shouldn't be upset about that. What they should be upset is that the writers who are writing and creating these characters are so shallow minded that they think that's all that people actually care about. Right? And not about the character itself. Right? And that's what I'm saying. They politicize it. Just write really good characters. I don't care if they're gay or lesbian or transgendered or whatever. I don't care. Just write good characters that I can believe that's a real person, so I can buy into that person, that character, and enjoy the story. That's I don't think that's too much to ask, right? So D-Max finally decided to show up. Awesome. D-Max, I know you probably just woke up. You're probably still got your morning gravity voice or whatever, but I would like to have a conversation with you because you are my expert when it comes to the LGBTQ community. is there any way or possibility that I could entice you into calling in this morning so I could have a conversation with you about this? Could I trouble? You thought I wasn't streaming? No, I said I was going to have a longer stream this morning because I didn't have to go to work. So no, I'm having a longer stream this morning, right? The coffee beans are getting a extended time with Peepaw this morning, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving it. I'm actually loving it. Reyes, the frog, Ms. Indulgence. I'm trans. I can always talk to you about it too. Well, Reyes, all you have to do, my friend, is join my Discord. The links there in chat, or you can, I think you can actually hit exclamation mark Discord, and it'll give you the link. Join the Discord, hop into the waiting room, and I will pull you in. So we'll have a conversation. No problem at all. Just be right there, dear. Thank you, sweetie. Because, you know, Max and I, we took our relationship to the next level last night. Yes, we did. We sure 100% did. I gave him my digits so he could just call me directly, and he doesn't have to worry about the Twitter or the Discord. He could just call and hear my beautiful, sultry voice anytime he likes. So, it's pronounced Rese. Okay, thank you, Rese. Thank you. But let's, while we wait for Max, let's continue on with this dumpster fire.
On top of this, it can be uncomfortable and unrelatable for the silent majority, although as we have seen, a situation like Chris's does have the potential to create an otherworldly amount of discussion, which could...
So this uncomfortability for the silent majority, I was part of the silent majority. I still feel like I am part of the silent majority in a lot of things. Being uncomfortable is not necessarily a bad thing. When I was being made uncomfortable by some of these very topics, right, it really caused me to stop and to think and to question my stances on these things, right? And that's when I came to the realization that I felt it was probably better for a child to grow up in a home with two loving parents, and it didn't matter if they were same sex or not. And I had to get past this narrative or this mindset of, oh, if a gay couple raises a kid, that they will make them gay. I know that's a stupid thing, but I actually thought that. I actually had that mindset that if a gay couple raised a child, that it automatically made that child gay as well, right? And that's the most stupidest thing. And I'm embarrassed that I actually thought that at one time, right? But unfortunately, that is a way that a lot of people think, that because it makes them uncomfortable and they don't want to talk about it. You know, but I'll say this too, right? I have friends that are gay, and they're cool people, and they're a lot of fun to be around, right? But they don't. They're not militant. I'll put it that way, right? You have these people who are on both sides of this conversation that are very militant about it, right? And they have this deal where they push their agendas, right? And then you have people that just say, live and let live, right? Just live and let live. And I'm glad to say that that's the kind of people that I have in my life. Straight, gay, whatever. It's just live and let live. You know, I don't try to force my lifestyle down theirs. They don't try to force their lifestyle down mine. And there's Maxi Poo.
Hello.
We're getting echoey, buddy. You need to
Sorry.
mute the stream. Come on, you're supposed to be no. You're supposed to be
I got it. Sorry. It was because I had it on my phone. Hello there, everyone. Wait, are you getting an echo of now? Is it fixed?
No, I don't
Okay,
think so.
great. Good.
So, all right. So I have a question for you.
Okay, I might have an answer.
So, well, I feel like you're probably more knowledgeable about this than I am. Okay, that's what I'm hoping here. Okay,
Mayhaps.
okay. So, in this video that I'm watching, this SunnyV2 video that he made on Chris and Mr. Beast and the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
He makes this statement that Chris going through taking HRT and stuff was going to change his personality potentially, and he would not be the person that had made him. He could possibly not retain the personality that had made him the lovable character that he was on Mr. Beast. So my question is this, because I don't think I work with some people who are transgendered, but I've never actually sat down and had any like really long conversations because opportunities never presented itself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking you, if a person is going, transgendering and they're taking the HRTs and stuff, does it change who they are?
This is a hard question, to be honest with you, because I realistically, I think it could kind of go. This is maybe frustrating, but it could kind of go either way. It just kind of depends on the person, right? Like how much were they kind of bottling up in this process of them trying to transition and like trying to figure out exactly what that means for them, right?
Yeah.
I think I have I've been witness to people who transition who it changes a lot about them. Because also too, it's just like let's say I'm going to incorrectly kind of say this, and don't take this the wrong way, anybody out there, but let's say the transgender lifestyle,
Yeah.
is a lifestyle. Like it is a thing that you have to, let's say, put on. Like what I mean is, like, in order to transition, in order to start to do that, to start to roll in that direction, it is a thing that you must, it is a change. Like it in and of itself is a change that is literally the definition of what transgenderism is. And I don't think that it's incorrect necessarily to ascribe somebody changing because of that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
all right. So, okay. I understand that their physical appearance transforms. I understand that their voice could transform, right? But the core of who they are, right? Their personality, right? Which is what this this guy's. Why would their personality change? Because I don't see why that would change.
It depends, because the thing is, it depends on the person. It depends on what they believe is masculine versus feminine. Like, there are some people out there that have it internalized within themselves that there is no difference between masculine and feminine, right? And so if they're transitioning between more of a masculine person to more of a feminine person, it wouldn't affect them at all. Like their personality wouldn't change. You know, I'm thinking, like, honestly, like a good example of this, to be honest, just because we did an episode on it and I've done a little bit of research into this person, is Jalen. Jalen did not change much between being being male to being female after the transition. Like, their personality did not change that much. But, excuse me.
Their appearance did. Their appearance did.
Yes. Yeah. But there are people out there who do. There are people out there who do actually change quite a bit, because now they can embrace their full femininity in a way that they weren't able to before. It depends on, like, how out of the closet, like how far in the closet were they, and how far out of the closet do they want to be, or do they get to be now that they have to transition, or now that they get to transition.
Okay, so what you're saying, so if I understand this, is if you
You have
have
Rese,
some.
by the way, in
Yeah,
in the
I'm gonna pull Rese in just a second. So if a person is transitioning from male to female, we'll say, right, which is what we're talking about here with Chris. So male to
Sure.
female.
Okay.
Okay. So they could become more effeminate. I get that, right? So they could
Right.
become more uh, ladylike, for lack of a better word, right? They become more, inclined to do what women do, right? Which is maybe shopping a little bit.
Cooking, cleaning.
Yeah, exactly,
sorry,
right.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
but yeah, but I mean they could do that, but I don't think that necessarily. And and their mannerisms, I can even understand that their mannerisms might change a little bit, right? Because be more effeminate in nature. But I don't see how their personality, which is their core, who they are. I don't think all of a sudden the only thing I will say is this. One personality that I could see is this: is if the person tended to be a little bit more depressed or a little bit sad.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah,
Now
that's what I mean.
because they can become happier because they're actually able to be who they have always felt they were, right? So I can understand that becoming from so they would kind of go from, for lack of a better word, a Eeyore, right? This type, it's okay, my house was destroyed, but whatever. To you have a Tigger who's just just happy and joyful and just energetic and all that, right? I could see that, but their core, they're either they're going to be a good, decent person, or they're not. And that's what I'm saying. So the core person, I don't see that's changing, right?
I agree with you. I agree with you on all that. But I would say also too, if somebody is taking hormones, that will almost definitely change their personality on some level.
Okay.
Like it's impossible for it not to. It's gonna affect you. It's just because male sorry, I always mess this up on how to say this in the least offensive way. So excuse me if this comes off as bad. But base male bodies don't really have as much estrogen in them.
Mm-hmm.
If you are supplementing estrogen, so that you can make a transition, that is going to have side effects on your personality. It's just that's just science fact. It's some people more than others. Some people can take that, some people can't. So I mean that's I guess what I would say is that it just depends on the person. Like it maybe that's pedantic, I don't know, but it's just that's what it seems like to me. I don't know.
All right, well, let's bring Rese in and have a conversation with Rese.
Yeah.
Okay, come on in here, Rese. Good morning, Rese. How are you doing today?
Hello.
Oh, I'm doing good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I hear you just fine. Thank you. Oh, and you
Awesome.
you have a beautiful British accent, right?
Oh, I do. I'm a London lad.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so you said that you're transgendered, correct?
Yes. So I'm a trans man. So I was born female, and now I'm a dude.
Okay.
I started hormones, I started testosterone about 6 years ago, and I've had top surgery, so I've had my tits removed.
Okay.
And I can honestly say myself that that testosterone hasn't changed my personality.
Okay.
It's made me before I started the testosterone, I was very anxious but that, down on myself, which was due to gender dysphoria. Then when I was able to start the hormones, I was able to be more myself. I was not as anxious, and it did that's really the most that I can say about the personality changes. You just become more of yourself.
So
it's not a change.
Yeah, it's not so much that your personality changed, it's just that it got to blossom. It's like the difference between a flower that's budding versus the flower that's blossomed.
Exactly that. Yeah. There are also some I guess you can say kind of personality-ish changes in a way. Sorry, notifications. One of the side effects to my testosterone is, it's a testosterone thing for cisgender people like yourselves, people who are born male.
Mm-hmm.
The testosterone and the anger and being quick to anger and stuff like that. That all happens to me now as well, which you know, that's just a side effect of the hormones itself, but it's not a personality thing. I hope
Sure.
that kind of makes sense.
Well, there's definitely a correlation between if testosterone and being aggressive and having a
Yeah.
temper sometimes. There is a correlation there, but I also think a person can not succumb to that, right?
Oh,
I think,
absolutely.
yeah, I think you have to kind of learn how to temper that. I know I did. I used to have the world's worst temper. And
I
with
have a- I-
Yeah.
okay, go ahead, Max.
Sorry, I have a question, but this might be a little bit personal. So if this is too much, like, please do not answer this and just slap me across the face, right?
Oh, it's all right.
But like, no, because I'm curious, because like I'm just thinking about things on like a Freudian level, like because we're talking about psychology, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'll just say it this way.
Yeah.
Were you hornier before or after hormones?
Oh, after 100% after.
Because yeah, testosterone, right? I would just figure
Yeah.
that would make a lot. So like, this is what I'm saying though, is that like these types of smaller, let's call them differences, you know, before versus now, it's like those types of things like after, you know, it builds up, it can make like a whole personality change. And for you, it seems like it was pretty mild. I've seen for other people though where it is a lot more vast, because I think that they were so like their true selves were so damped down for such a long time that they seemed very like placid. You know, they were very very mild people. And then when they finally came out of the closet and were able to live their full lives, their full truths, then it kind of did, like you said, blossom out, and then they became like a much bigger sort of personality. And I even saw that it affected their friend groups, where, you know, certain friends were just like, oh, you know, the person that you were before, it was easier to hang out with. Now it's, you know, it's like, I don't really know you as much. And that became kind of a struggle for them too, you know. So like, it's interesting that everybody has kind of a different sort of path with that. But that's what I'm saying. Like in terms of Chris, it's like, I don't know. It just depends on kind of the person. I haven't seen Mr. Beast's content enough to know who he is or you know what he's about. It'd have to be like a before and after type of a thing, I guess. So
Yeah, I completely agree with like everything that you are saying there, to be honest. Like I honestly like you, like I don't follow Mr. Beast that much or anything like that, and I've just, you know, seen what's been happening over the last like day on Twitter and obviously this stream and stuff like that. And it's all kind of like the kind of things that, what was it, SunnyV2? Was that who made the video?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the kinds of things that he was saying were like not researched. Like it didn't even sound like he looked into like anything at all. Like even just the tiny amount that I've watched in this stream and on Twitter and stuff like that, I seem to know more than what SunnyV2 did in his own video.
Yeah.
So,
well, this is what happens whenever there's any sort of celebrity that comes out and transitions. I remember this happened when, oh my goodness, what is his name? It's escaping me. It's the Kardashian.
Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Caitlyn Jenner. Yeah.
Bruce to Caitlyn. Right.
Yeah.
So like that whole thing, and everybody came out and they were all armchair psychologists. You know, everybody became an expert overnight in transgenderism. It's kind of hilarious. But that's what I'm saying is like that journey, that path is kind of different for everybody. We like to paint it with like broad strokes, but the reality is that this thing that we're all kind of dealing with, trying to figure out, is a spectrum. And so it just depends on where were you on the spectrum before versus where you end up on the spectrum kind of afterwards.
Yeah, like my personal like transition journey. So before I came out as trans, I was like this hyper feminine, like I was wearing corsets and skirts and big old makeup and stuff like that. So when I came out, a lot of people were like really confused because I didn't look masculine beforehand. But I needed the hormones. I started testosterone, and during that point I kind of forced myself to look more masculine so that people would believe that I was trans. And then when I started the hormones and kind of like the beard started growing and the chest hair and everything like that, and people would see me as a man in public, that's when I felt like I was able to dress more femininely, which there is like this huge stigma with like when people just come out as trans, like in Chris's circumstance and stuff like that, like people are going to expect them to dress hyper femininely when that's just not how trans people work. You know, like you said, it's a whole spectrum of shit. it doesn't work with just black and white, male and female, you know?
So I have a question for you, Rese. And let me
Of
just
course.
say that anything that I ask, if it's out of pocket or you're not comfortable with, you just say, I don't want to, and you will not insult or hurt my feelings at all. Okay. Because
Oh, dude, it's okay. I'm completely open about any
okay,
questions. I'm
okay,
here to educate.
okay. So, because I don't know, and I feel like I try to learn by talking to people, right?
Yeah.
So, since you were female and you're now male,
Mhm.
which do you feel like is easier for you? I understand that you feel more yourself now that you're male, right?
Yeah.
But which was,
It was
yeah,
definitely easy. It's definitely easier for me living as a man now.
okay,
But that is also due to, you know, sexism and
mhm,
misogyny and all that kind of, you know, I'm not going to go
yeah,
into all of that, but like
yeah,
people like shouting shit on the streets when you're a chick and stuff like that. None of that
yeah,
happens now, like,
okay,
obviously, and
yeah,
I feel safer. I do feel safer.
okay, okay. So when you were when you finally were comfortable enough with letting your family and friends know,
Mm.
did you get the support you needed, or was this something that a path you had to walk on your own?
It was half and half.
Okay.
There was one of my friends, well, I don't speak to them anymore, who kind of she tried to force me into women's clothing to try and kind
Mhm.
of make me think that I wasn't actually trans.
Yeah.
Then my father, who, you know, he was completely chill with it, and he was like, "Yeah, whatever, just do what makes you happy. You're an adult
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Do whatever," you know.
Sure.
So, you know, it was very kind of 50-50 mix between
Yeah.
people, but I can honestly say that it is easier for trans men like myself to come out than it is for trans women to come out, because there's a lot more transphobia towards male to female transitioning people. So it's a lot easier for me than, say, someone like Chris, or like in chat Dylan Mulvaney and people like that. It's a lot easier
Yeah.
for me than them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to make this comment, but every single time somebody says Chris, I'm still getting used to this Chris from Mr. Beast. For
Mhm.
some reason, whenever anybody says Chris in this context, I'm thinking of Chris Chan, and I'm like, oh
I
my
do as
god.
well. I do as well.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's just like,
Yeah.
because I remember when everybody was talking about that too. It's like, there's
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean,
Even
people have
even that, like, for me,
yeah.
even that whole the Chris Chan thing confuses me, and I just call them they just to be safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard thing is I think that everybody's kind of on a different path with this stuff and everybody has their own understanding as to like what that means and what that is, about
Yeah.
themselves and it's a discovery of that, right? And so it's difficult because I think that there are some people like, this is the same thing I think in life as anything else, right? Where the people around you are going to assume that they understand certain things about you better than you do. And that's unfortunate because it's hardly ever true. Maybe your parents might, maybe people who have been around you a very long time and understand who you are might have a good sense of that, maybe. But for just random people just to come up on the street or just, even friends, even close friends, it's just like, and then to assume that they know something better about you that is such a core fundamental like part of yourself,
Hmm.
that can be, I mean, I think that's kind of where a lot of or at least with the people that I have spoken to, that seems to be a big point of contention is just like the way, like people can't, like they get stuck on the idea that they're seeing you a certain way in a certain context, and then they can't really see you any other way, and it becomes this thing of cognitive dissonance in their brain, right? Cognitive dissonance being, just for anybody out there who doesn't know, cognitive dissonance being you have an idea in your brain as to what the truth of reality is, and you very much believe that because that's your reality, right? But then something comes along at some point and it challenges that image that you have, and then it kind of breaks your reality. And that effect is cognitive dissonance. So for people who are around transgender people before they transition, they have this idea in their brain that like, oh no, they're perfectly happy and fine and everything's good, or maybe they have a little bit of problems, but they're a man or they're a woman or whatever, right? And then when that transition finally happens and then they see the person in a different way, especially, honestly, if that person ends up being happier after the fact and they have any sort of like personal bona fides about the whole fucking transgender thing in general, I think that's when people start to like really start to break and they go like, okay, but I'm not the problem. It can't be my own brain. My own cognitive dissonance is telling me that my reality is the correct one. Therefore, that person has to be incorrect. And it's especially hard too, I think, because these people do, like those people in that situation do end up having to change things about themselves as well because of the pronoun thing, right? Which is a hot button topic right now. And I don't think that I don't think that it is unreasonable for some people to feel a little hard about that because they may be struggling with it just on like the big broad sort of universal scale of understanding what that means. And then you get to something so the minutia of like particular speech. I agree, people should be respectful. People should always try to go with whatever pronouns, right? Because it's important to respect people, especially people who are dealing with something like this. It's just hard because I think that like what ends up happening is it's like a clash, right? It's like a clash of realities, and like and that's, I think, always where people have problems. That's every single war ever in all of human history is just a clash of different perspectives, of different realities. So
100%, yeah. Like my uncle, he's pretty damn right wing, you know, he's quite far over on that side. And then there's me, who's kind of like left center kind of thing. Me and him clash on so much, especially when it comes to like queer stuff and, you know, LGBTQ stuff and stuff like that. But like I've now been out as trans for 8 years, and it's only gotten, you know, once it got to like the 7 years point, that's when my uncle started actually like calling me a man and gendering me properly and stuff like that, just because it took his brain so long to wrap his head around. Which, do you know what? He's of a different generation than me. He's of a different kind of mindset than me. I understand that he finds it difficult. And if at the end of the day, if he fucks up my pronouns and then corrects himself, whatever, just water under the bridge kind of thing. It's nothing. And I think a lot of people, like, they get worried about misgendering trans people so much that it's honestly the best thing you can do is just like, he, she, oh, sorry, you know, carry on, boom, done. And people get scared of the reaction that like the trans person would have. But honestly, 99% of the time we'll just be like, yeah, whatever, don't care. Like,
well, yeah, on this
you know
same
what I
vein, I
mean?
have sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but as
No.
a question that I usually, or that I've asked a few transgender people before, and I'm always curious to see what their answer is. How do you feel about like kind of the purse puppy effect? Like, because I've seen this quite a bit with different let's call it minority groups, right? Because they're all very hot topic, you know, hot button sort of things, and people want to be as respectful as possible. And I think that in the same way that there are these horrible, you know, horribly bigoted people out there that take things to an extreme that's like absolutely absurd, out of pocket, ridiculous. There's the other extreme of that, which is, you know, the people out there who are trying so hard to be polite, so hard to be respectful, that they kind of end up making, you know what I mean by purse puppies? It's like it's the people who carry around their dogs in little purses and show it off to people, like, oh look, you know, look, it's a little chihuahua, don't you love it, you know, kind of a thing. Like, so do you feel that at all? Have you ever felt that?
Do you know what? I've noticed it with younger trans people and younger queer people. They kind of, by no means do they like attach themselves to the identity and the community and stuff like that, but it's something that it can be quite extreme, you know, with the younger people. But then I've definitely noticed with the people who've, like, the trans people and the gay people and whoever who've like been out for like 5 years plus, they don't tend to be like that at all. I think it's in that kind of discovery phase when people are more like that. I
So
can
you're saying
honestly
like
hands up say that I
the love bombing that happens, like because when somebody comes out like that, there's a lot of like, it seems as though society, like modern society especially, wants to, you know, give praise to that type of thing, because it's like, hey, like you're dealing with something, you've identified the issue, now we're going to do our best as society to be able to, you know, kind of give that to you to have, you know, to work within whatever space you would like to operate in, right? So are you saying something like that?
Yeah, like
Okay.
I think it's a mix of like how without going too deep into politics, of course, how fucked up everything is, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I think younger queer people are like, because everything is so up in the air and so crazy at the minute, they're just kind of grabbing onto the what is essentially like the biggest what's it like protected group. I don't know if that's the right word, but
okay,
like they kind of latch on for that protection almost, and kind of have that acceptance that they may not have from their families, and that does go far too extreme sometimes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, like the two ends of the extreme. I'm saying, like, I think that, like, to be honest with you, I kind of feel as though both is sort of wrong. Like, you should just treat people normally, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just that people take things, like to a ridiculous extreme. And it's like the whole point of this movement, as far as I can tell, is the idea that, you know, of trying to normalize this, right? That is to say, not having these people feel othered, because the feeling of being othered is what's causing their own cognitive dissonance. It's what's causing their own shift, their own break in reality. So it's like the more that you can kind of get to that idea, you know, it's like, it's the whole mentality of, I've met people like this before. I'm sure maybe you guys out there have had experiences like this, where it's like you're trying to hold the door open for somebody with crutches, or somebody with a cane, or somebody who's in a wheelchair, or something like that. And then they give you like a kind of like a sneer. They're like, you know, because they want to live their life just normally. And for me, I always have that problem of just like, oh no, I just want to hold the door for everybody. Like I'm that kind of guy, you know?
I'm completely with you on that. Like when I first came out, there were so many people being like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that you're able to do this. And do you know what? Yeah. That was too much.
See, but this is the problematic thing of this that I think is unfortunate, is that like the love bombing is it's, I guess it's, or I would assume that it's nice. But at a certain point, it just becomes like, all right, guys, can we move on, please? You know,
like, me being trans isn't the main point of my existence and my life. You know, that's just a secondary, third, fourth, whatever type thing going on. Exactly. Yeah. Like it's something that can't be helped. I don't need to be like coddled and you know. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like, you know, at the beginning, you know, a couple people, cool, fair enough, whatever. Just move on. You know, you don't have to make my entire personality around that, because that's not what I am.
I'm just trying, because like also I'm trying to think of like some sort, because I work off of analogies really well, and I'm trying to think of like there's any other sort of situation like this where somebody basically embraces who they are, and then people are so outwardly like, you know, over the top with like how they kind of praise somebody over it. It's almost like I don't know. And correct me if this is wrong, but I would imagine that the feeling would be very similar to when I was in like when I played like recreational soccer when I was in like, I don't know, middle school or maybe early high school. This was around the time when, you know, I was in the millennial group that was getting trophies for everything. So it's like you wouldn't win the tournament, but you would still get a trophy kind of a thing. And like everybody would be like, good job, great job, you really did it. And it's like, we didn't win. Like, what do you mean?
Exactly. That is actually a really good way of describing it, to be honest. It really is.
Cool. I wasn't sure, because it's not like you're not winning. It's not like you're not achieving whatever goal it is. It's just that like it's that feeling of like almost a consolation prize. It's like, great, I didn't come out quite right, but now that I figured it out, everybody's happy for me, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like a
participation trophy, you know?
Right. Yeah.
You know, exactly that. Just for me personally, just let me live. Don't carry on with these bullshit anti-trans bills, and just let me fucking live my life. That's all I ask.
Yeah. I agree.
So I would like to. This was another kind of thing that has kind of blown up here recently. There was this there's this podcast, and they are the red pill kind of alpha male type thing. That and I can't remember the name of the podcast off the top of my head, but there was a guy on there was asked they had got males, you know, the whatever right-leaning people on one side, left-leaning people on the other side. So a young lady asked him, one of the red pillars said, would you rather date like a grandmotherly type older woman, or a hot 10 trans woman?
Right.
Okay. You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. I'm sure you probably have seen
Yeah.
the clip, right? And the guy said, well, the grandmother, because the trans woman doesn't have anything that to offer me, right? That because I'm not gay, right?
Yeah.
So for guys, do you think that guys who have that mentality of where I'm not going to date a trans person, be it trans male, trans female, whatever the scenario is, or whatever I'm saying, a person says, let me put it this way. A person says, I'm not going to date a trans person because they can't offer me ultimately what it is that I'm seeking. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that, okay. Does that make them transphobic?
I wouldn't say transphobic. There is a big difference between like having a preference for genitals and then the person itself. Like easy way to explain it. Say I assume you're straight, Riv.
Well, I'm
Yeah?
15. I'm
Am I
15. I'm 15% gay, but yeah.
Oh, okay then. Awesome. Okay then. So, okay then.
But no,
A random
I'm
straight person in the audience.
I'm straight. I'm happy married for
okay.
27 years. So yeah,
That's okay. I accept your
Yeah.
heterosexuality. No, I'm joking.
Don't purse puppy him.
yeah.
But yeah, like there's a complete difference between like a preference for genitals and then a preference for people. Like
Yeah.
say completely straight person like yourself. Say you don't like penis at all. Whatever, cool. That's your
Yeah.
preference.
Sure.
But then if say you've met a trans woman and they still have a penis,
Mhm.
but you don't quite know it, and you know they explain to you afterwards, like not after you've had sex or anything like that, but like after you start knowing whatever.
Mhm.
There's a difference there. If you're straight up saying no, I don't like it because there's a penis,
Mhm.
that's fair enough. But no, I don't like them because they're trans is different.
Yeah.
It's difficult to explain, but
Can I ask this then? Like, how? Let's
Yeah.
say I'm going to make up the scenario where I am a straight male and
Mhm.
I want to date females, right?
Yeah.
So that should include transgender females. But what if I would like to? And I understand that there's like adoption out there or whatever. But let's say that I want to have children. And
Yeah.
that's like a factor of like my relationship is I would like to have a relationship in which I can have my own children so that I can raise them and all that stuff. I just have that kind of, fairy tale sort of, fantasy sort of thing in my brain.
Yeah.
Like, would you agree that that's not transphobic either?
No, that's
Or-
definitely not transphobic. Because if you have like
It's a preference.
a want to make like a whole family and stuff like that, then that's what you're already looking for. You
Right.
know, there's a difference between already looking for, someone who also wants the same future as you do, and then, like
See-
say as well, like, go on,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, the reason why I ask is because this is where it starts to get into the nitty gritty of like I think a lot of the lobbying or lobbing the transphobic claim at some people because there are many religious people out there, specifically Christians, Jews, Muslims, people of all different walks of faith, not just to name the Abrahamic religions, but like that that's what they want. Like that's their modus operandi, that's their goal within their own religions to a degree. That's the flowering of the relationship is that. So it's like I think that it's going to be especially hard for people in that scenario, in that situation, to kind of look past that unfortunate biological truth,
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, that is 100% true. Yeah, like, so in my own personal relationship, I'm in a relationship with another man, not a trans man, a cisgender man with a penis.
Gotcha.
And he's bisexual, and I've said to him, look, if you end up want to go out and suck some dick because I can't give you that penis, you go out and do that. You go and get what you need, but that's also how our relationship works. That might not be with other people, but that's how I am for me, and vice versa goes with
I
him
can't
and
stand
me.
it when people judge other people's relationships. It's like if it is a consenting thing between two adults, it's like
100%.
Like what
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like what is this?
Yeah.
It's like you can
Exactly.
I'll say this, I'll go as far to say you can give criticism to anybody for any reason, I believe,
Mm.
but
Mhm.
it's like, I don't know, it's kind of a dickhead move. It's just like who cares? Like if it like it's one thing if maybe you're doing that or they are doing that and like it's a problem, but
Yeah.
it's like if the two people are happy and they're doing their thing and whatever, it's like why throw eggs at a nice looking house? You know what I mean?
Exactly that. Like mine and my boyfriend's relationship is brilliant, because of our open relationship and stuff like that. And it just makes both of our bisexual horny asses a lot easier to deal with, to be honest.
I think, like I say, my philosophy is live and let live, right? Unless
Yeah.
it is somehow adversely, directly affecting me, I really don't care, right?
Exactly.
And what I'll say is when you have these trans activists
Mm.
that get on and make these statements of, if you refuse to date a trans person, then you are transphobic. To me is just as vile of a statement.
Problematic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
there we
very
go. Yeah.
problematic. Yeah, as you have a cis white not cis white, but just a cis person.
Yeah.
Some of the statements that they make, and so the thing of it is this is if you are a marginalized person, right, from a marginalized community, if you're wanting people to accept and to understand and to be welcoming, what you don't want to do is to be off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you take these hardline stances, period, you are ostracizing yourself away from us people like myself that are just kind of middle of the road. We really don't care. If
Yeah.
you like tab A's or you prefer slot B's, I don't give a shit. Go like your
Yeah.
slots or your tabs. I don't care. But
I call it I call it a tactical unforced error.
Yeah.
It's like I understand what they're trying to do when they say things like that or when they lob, these accusations at people. And sometimes it's not unfounded, but it's just that it's not really necessary. It's like if your whole this is honestly like a big kind of gripe that I have with LGBT, just like the organizations around it, right? Not necessarily the people within it, but just the organizations.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
they have these weird stances where it's like, look, like if your whole thing is free love, you go out and you do your thing, boo boo. Like, great, like that's what everybody should aspire to. Why then on the other end of things are you saying that it's like? Because I've seen people where it's like, okay, here in Florida, for instance, there was a big hoo-ha over the supposed don't say gay
Yes.
bill, right? And
Yeah.
then
Yeah. I know
the
about that. Yeah.
LGBT, I saw some LGBT people within my community trying to pose countervailing measures of don't say straight, and it's like, well, I mean,
Oh.
shouldn't it just be like either it's not talked about at all or all of it's talked about? Like, it just, to me, it's
Yeah.
like the point of equality makes more sense than the point of like just contention. It's like that's
Yeah.
what I can't understand is like when there's such contention, it's like, I understand it's a struggle, it's a fight for people out there in LGBT. I'm fully cognizant of that, but it's like, does it really have to be a fight? Like, can't it just be like every other successful civil rights movement where it has been
Yeah.
won just based off of like peace?
Yeah. Yeah.
It
I
doesn't have to
completely.
be militant. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of that goes back to the whole the younger queer people, to be honest, because when I went through this phase myself, like when I first came out and I saw, almost 10 years ago, when it was not necessarily as bad as now, but still obviously pretty bad. Like, I was so vocal and loud about anti-trans stuff, and I was kind of almost holding the mirror up, like how you said about the don't say straight thing. Like, I was kind of not to the extent, but I was almost doing the same. But also, I was like, what, 15, 16, maybe 17 at the time. I was a kid. But now that I've grown up and I know more about the community and legal stuff and just people in life in general,
Well, see,
I know
because
that the best way to get acceptance isn't to be loud and aggressive.
yeah, as you're growing up, there is a certain part of your life that you will reach where you will find your point of rebellion.
Mm,
Just because that's what a coming of age is finding that point of rebellion within you, within within yourself, within society as well. For me, my
yeah.
point of rebellion at around that age was atheism. I was a very hardlined sort of atheist. I watched a lot of atheist content on YouTube. That's how I got into the skeptic thing. That's what
Mm,
ended up making me, or like, into the skeptic community. I started getting into that, and then that's what eventually kind of made me do like content of my own, is because I got more interested in sort of the philosophy of things, right? Well, it's like
yeah.
I wonder what happens. Like, that was for something that was not necessarily personal to my identity. Like, religion to me was never that much of a big deal. Like, my family just never really made. So it's like I just place. So I take that life experience that I had, and I then apply it to the transgender youth, right?
Mm,
Who I had imagine is kind of consuming a lot of that content on social media.
mm,
And it's like that becomes their kind of hyperfixation, and they might get some differences out of that as well. One
yeah.
of the things that people don't talk about often enough when it comes to social media and the influences that it can have on people is that social media, especially Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, these types of platforms have been outed for years now of trying to push the most salacious, most sensationalized things to you, because
Mm,
these companies know what makes you angry, what makes you mad, what makes you sad, what makes you upset is what drives clicks. That's what gets
yeah.
people to engage the most. And it's
Yeah.
this is why I've wanted for so long for somebody to stand up and talk about this stuff, like in terms of social media. What is the
Mm,
social media? What are the social media companies doing to our youths? Because, to be honest with you, yes, there are a lot of bigoted, horrible, hateful people out there that have a lot of these terrible takes, right? But the thing is
yeah.
that, like, I don't believe that they're a majority. I don't even know
No.
if they're necessarily a plurality. I don't think they're a 50-50 shot. I think it's probably, a lot less people out there than people would think, but it's always the vocal minority. It's always the vocal
Exactly.
minority that makes other people feel terrible, people feel awful. And often when I'm talking to transgender youths or people, just anybody within
Mm,
LGBT, I always try to explain to them that, like, the world is not as scary as you might think it is based on the videos that you see from horrible, bigoted, terrible people.
Yeah.
Most
yeah.
people are good, and they will try to be as respectful as they can. There might be a
Mm,
gap in their understanding for what the situation is, because this is sort of a newer phenomenon, but the more
mm,
time goes on, the more this will go away.
yeah. That's exactly what I'm hoping. Like, a little example of something that happened to me a couple months ago. I'm also a drag queen. So I was performing in drag, and I went outside to have a cigarette, and I got assaulted randomly in the street by some random guy who was just really transphobic.
Mm,
And I was not
I'm
expecting a
sorry.
single person to step in, and that's all right.
mhm.
I was not expecting a single person to like step in and kind of stand up for me, but I had like 3, 4 people round me telling this guy to back off and to leave me alone, otherwise they would call the police. Like,
Hmm.
stuff like that gives me
Yeah.
hope. Like those three,
Yeah.
4 people who helped me over that one man who gave me shit.
Well, this
But
is,
of
I mean,
my
that's another
yeah,
sad thing about the world that we live in right now, is that because I think there are certain people out there who have become so much live and let live that you
mm,
end up in these weird, terrible kind of situations like you're describing. I mean,
mm,
this is off topic, but it's a similar
yeah,
situation. It's like there, or actually, this is now, like, this is a thing that's happened a few times.
mm,
There was a woman in New Jersey, I believe, that was on the subway, and she started getting, let's call it, accosted by a man,
Mhm.
and
mm,
everybody on the subway backed away, pulled out their phones, and
mm,
started recording it because they were
Yes.
trying to do their part, but they didn't want to get involved. And it's like, well,
yeah,
no, yeah, if somebody's being like this person was being physically, sexually assaulted, let's call it. It was worse
mm,
than that, but let's call it that.
Yeah.
Uh,
yeah,
and these people were all just kind of, filming it, and it's like that placidity in life is not good. And unfortunately, I know that
mm,
that's between two. That's like a cis situation, right? It's a so you take that now to the added extreme of people within LGBT. It's like anybody,
mm,
even if it's a victim involved. I think that because they're so worried about these types of things, there's that purse puppying to such a degree
Yeah.
that even becomes where it becomes a problem. Another example
Yeah,
that I have of it
absolutely.
is my own personal example. This happened twice.
Mm.
I went to a gay. There was. I lived in Orlando, downtown Orlando, for a long time, Florida. Uh,
Yeah.
and I would go from time to time. I would go to the gay pride parade that they would have. And it
Mm.
was, always a fun time seeing the floats and everything, But there was um 2 years that I forgot like what day that was happening, and I just had other stuff going on. Like, were the 2 days also that I had to just run to Publix to get some food because I was an idiot and just didn't get myself any food. And over the course of me trying to do that, not like dressed in any of the regalia, right? Not with any of
Yeah.
the flag on or anything like that, just normal, clothes, let's call it. There were the one time it was a group of to be honest, gay men who came up,
Mm.
and I was just trying to like work my way through the crowd because I had to in order to get to the grocery store.
Mm.
They ended up kind of like squeezing my buns and like doing that sort of thing and like hitting on me a lot, and then
Oh,
they were
that's
kind
not
of like
okay.
following me. Yeah, they were following me for a good amount of time, and this was also
Mm.
too at a time where I was kind of struggling with my own personal sort of things in that level. So it
Yeah.
was very unfortunate. But I remember it was like very blatant, like in front of like a group of
Mhm.
people, like and people
Mm.
saw it, and people were laughing about it. They were like
Mhm.
oh, this is so funny, kind of a thing. And I was like, wasn't that funny to me, So that
No,
was the
Yeah.
first example of it. But then a few years later, similar situation. I had to go to the grocery store, and the parade was happening. So I tried to take like a little bit of I went a different path. I tried to go away from the crowd so that I could just like let them have their day and whatever,
Mm.
and then I could just go grab my shit and leave. And there was a man who was rather intoxicated, and he came up and he started you know trying to riz me. I made it very clear. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to get some food, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it, but I'm good. He got a little close, and he ended up kind of grabbing my junk, and that was interesting as well. There wasn't anybody around to really to say or do anything like that on that level.
Mm.
But obviously I was a little bit irate, and
Of
I
course.
kind of like I shoved him away, like I just pushed him away, like, whoa, like what, dude, stop, like don't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
But he was drunk, he was intoxicated, so he ended up falling over. And then people looked, right? So now they see me standing there having pushed this guy down to the ground, who's
Yeah.
very, very let's say outwardly gay, right?
Yeah.
Dressed up in the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
bit. And then it becomes a thing of them looking around, looking at me like I'm the one with the problem, because again, I'm just dressed in like my normal
Yeah.
like black hoodie,
Yeah.
ripped jeans look. So yeah, that was a thing. It's like I don't know how you fix that though. It's like those
Yeah.
types of
Like,
problems. Like I don't know what in society we have to do in order to fix that problem, other than just like instilling within people the fact that if anybody's in a bad situation, it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you feel comfortable to be able to get involved with that, obviously try to use your best judgment, but
of course.
to try to de-escalate a situation or to make it so that everything is at least peaceful, I believe is
Yeah.
not an act of aggression, let's say.
Absolutely not. No. De-escalating any kind of situation is not aggression. And
Yeah.
honestly, I'm not going to lie. If I was in your situation, well, you would have had the full blown right to push him over. Like, you know,
I was just
sexual
pushing him
assault.
to get him off me. I didn't mean to
Well,
make
yeah,
him
of
push,
course.
go over, but like, yeah,
Like
that
you
happened.
probably would have had like, you you will probably be all good to like have pushed him and been like fuck off kind of thing. Like it is a in the queer community, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a problem, but like I've definitely noticed that gay people tend to be like a lot more touchy feely, but in like a positive way. But they
Sure.
don't quite understand that people who aren't gay and aren't in the queer community might not feel okay with that kind of, hey girl, touchy feely on the kind
Yeah.
of shoulder, on the hip or something. Some
Right.
people aren't okay with that, and it comes from like it comes from a good place, but it's not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I
Like
understand. Well,
it
that's the
should
thing
not
is
have
like both
happened.
times I understood where it came from. Like I understood like
Mm.
like it wasn't I don't like okay, the first one for instance, like with the group of guys, Like that was not like, I don't believe that that came from like them trying to do anything bad
Malicious.
to me or malicious, right?
Yeah.
Malicious to me. It just happened. It's like because I went through all the different scenarios in my brain after that, because it
Mm.
was a really weird experience. I'm just walking through a crowd trying to just kind of like, I'm not trying to shove people to the side. I'm just trying to like,
Yeah.
use my hands just to get through. And then I
Yeah,
get
just
stuck kind of
doing
with a
your
brick
thing.
wall
Yeah.
of people. And then
Yeah.
these guys just come over and grab me. And I'm thinking to myself, like, after this happened, like, maybe they thought I was somebody else, like maybe whatever, maybe like, because they're a little intoxicated. So after
Mm.
the fact, maybe they're just trying to play it off like, oops, like, aha, like, when you make a mistake and you just go, ha ha ha, and you just like laugh it off kind of a thing.
Do you know what? Probably, to be quite honest,
Yeah,
like I'm still gonna say as a fact, like no one should be fucking touched whatsoever. But queer people definitely have that. Hey, girls, give you a little touch on your hip, and then kind of go
right.
a bit too nice about things. But again, they shouldn't be doing it in the first place. You know.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was a whole ass, like an ass grab. Like I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
not
I was not a
cool.
squeaky toy, but it made me squeak. You know what
No.
I mean? Like it's like, yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, but this is what I mean is like, I think that there are the issue at this point in society is that like people are the way they are. It's
Yeah.
just we have these same problems regardless of how people are in terms of their sexuality or like what they're because there's that ongoing fight of the educational process of explaining to people the difference between sex and gender, right? And so
Mm.
there's a lot of contention there between people who don't quite grasp what that fully implies or what that fully means.
Yeah.
And I think that like it's just I think like regardless of any of that whole struggle, I think people are people, and there are certain situations that happen,
Yeah. Mistakes
and it's
happen.
right, exactly. Mistakes happen, and it's easy for something like that to, yeah, it's just it happens. Shit happens. It's like you
Mm.
shouldn't lay that at the feet of any group. It's like I didn't just go forward, honestly. I didn't go
Yeah.
forward with that and think like, "Oh man, well all these gays in Orlando are just, they're terrifying. I don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with them." I just honestly thought like, because the second time, like I said, I didn't go through the crowd this time. I decided to just take like a different street just because I didn't want to
Mm.
have to deal with
Deal
that.
with
But
it.
I didn't like
Yeah.
think anything less of the entire group because of that. I just
Yeah.
assumed like, well, there's a higher influx of people over there who are having a good time and maybe
Yeah.
they're doing their thing. And honestly, I can't help how attractive I look. So I must take another path, right? It's just like, I got to protect myself. I've got to, so I don't know. It's just, it's the world. It's not, it's not any group's fault. It's just, that's how
Yeah.
things are.
Yeah, exactly. Like at the end of the day, if anyone gives you a grab, of course you're going to be fucking uncomfortable about it. Of course, no two ways about that. But a lot of people then would say, "Oh, all of these gay people always touching everyone," and blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
it turns into that kind of thing. And it's just like, no, you know, that's not how it works.
Well, it's like it's annoying because like I see the same thing. Yeah, I see the same type of mentality on the queer side of things too. When they talk about
Mm.
religion, they immediately go to like the pastors that grope children or something like that. It's
Mm.
like these same types of hyperbolic statements are the same things. Like this is
Yeah.
okay. Well, let me ask you this, since we have you here,
Yeah.
and since we're talking about kind of some more racy sort of stuff. This is a big
Yeah.
thing in Florida that's happening right now. Is the
Mm.
this is at least the aftermath of the Don't Say Gay stuff. There's this big thing for people who are against grooming. And let me just
Right.
preface that I will say that to use the term grooming against LGBT in mass is wrong, is incorrect.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not only is it a misclassification, but it's also just offensive and weird, and it's just like strange. It's the same type of problem that I have if you were to call like priests groomers. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Like that's obviously not the case for all people involved, but there
Mm.
might be some people where that is kind of an issue, And
Yeah.
so I just wonder, like, do you have a take on that at all, or?
Well, as a drag queen, obviously, I am a little bit more biased,
Sure.
because
Yeah,
obviously
yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of the anti-drag
That's
stuff that's been
literally, I
going
mean,
on
that's
and
what it's
stuff.
about, and that's
Yeah.
the context in which people talk about it. So it's only
Yeah,
fair.
because it started off as the anti-drag bills, and they're trying to now turn that into anti-trans bills. They're trying to say in, oh God, where was it? Tennessee? I might be wrong, or Texas, somewhere like that maybe, that they wanted to fine and arrest people who were in the opposite gender sex of clothes in public. But really, how are you meant to like enforce that kind of shit for one? And it kind of,
Yeah, I agree.
the whole reason I'm saying that is kind of like the 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 right, the red pill, I don't know what you can really say, but you know, that side of
Yeah, yeah.
people were taking it that far of an extreme. So we're kind of doing that, shining a mirror back in
Well,
their face kind of thing, but it
I
goes too far sometimes.
Sure. I see a lot of people, you know, I try to talk to as many different types of people as I can.
Mm,
And some of the people that I talk to are more on that right side of things. And
mm,
the framing that they use for it and the people that I have spoken to,
mm.
you know, they do make the distinction that obviously this is not all drag queens, not all,
Yeah.
you know, people with an LGBTQ. Um, they make the framing that like a drag queen, or I'm sorry, a drag show. A lot of
Mm.
drag shows, not all drag shows, but a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
drag shows have at least parody with burlesque shows, you know, or in some ways kind of strip teasing, you know, maybe like I wouldn't go full blown into stripper territory, but like those types, it's of that category is what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
of a similar sort of entertainment, right?
So I
And
would
so,
say for something
okay,
like that, like
sure,
you're kind of more looking at like cabaret shows in general, not necessarily just drag. Which is where a lot of people obviously get the not the confusion, but like the cabaret burlesque drag
right.
scene, it all very much overlaps. Like I have personally done more cabaret shows with burlesque dancers and stuff like that than I have with a full cast of drag kings and drag queens and stuff like that. But like
Well,
my shows, I'm not meant to perform for children. My shows aren't
right.
meant for children. The performance spaces that I do, they aren't meant for children. They're all
Right.
over 18 venues because, you know, legal drinking age over here is 18. Um, you
I'm
know,
actually
like,
very happy you said that because this is, I believe, what the disconnect is I think that
yeah.
there is a bunch of people on the right, and again, this is because of the social media thing of like, you know,
Mm,
them showing you the most sensationalist thing that they can see. It's not the
yeah.
like because I do believe, and I have seen like video evidence, and I've also been like personally seen it for myself. These type
Mm,
of more burlesque
performers
situations.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
performers. Yes, thank you. These more sort of burlesque performers performing to minors, and I
Yeah.
find that to be
That's not
problematic.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
not
is.
right.
It is
And that's what I
100%.
think a
Yeah.
lot of these people are speaking to is that's those specific examples. But the problem
Yeah.
is that then it gets applied to a group of people who are not necessarily like yourself, right? Like you
Exactly. Yeah.
perform in that level, but you are doing it for adults who are
Yeah.
consenting versus children
Exactly.
who come with their parents to whatever sort of like political rally or what have you, right? And then again,
Yeah.
it may or may not even be the case that political rally would have a burlesque type performance. But again,
Exactly. Yeah.
a lot of these people who are in these more right-leaning sort of echo chambers, they just don't understand that there is the distinction between different types of drag performances. But the
Exactly.
people that I talk to though, who do understand those, because there was a lot of people who were pretty much picking up on exactly what we're talking about with the situation. They even went as
Mm,
far to say that they wouldn't let their children or wouldn't feel comfortable with their children being around go-go dancers. Like just even go-go dancers are not like
right.
that's too
Okay.
far. So it's like
Right. Okay.
because they're more conservative. They don't want their
Yeah.
children
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
do that, and because they're I in my opinion, because they are the legal guardians. They are the people who are supposed to be, you know, raising their children in whatever way that they currently see fit until the time that
Mm,
they are able to consent for themselves. I think that's their full prerogative to say that they can or can't be in a situation. It sucks.
yeah.
I remember growing up with parents that were a lot more um you know, strict on those types of things, and it was always a bummer. But at the same
Mm,
time, now being a fully fledged adult and having seen, you know, the children who had those types of living situations and the children that
yeah.
didn't, it's like I get it. Like I understand why a parent might be a little bit more strict in that regard.
Mm, mm. I was quite lucky on those kind of side of things. Like
I
I
was
lost my
too.
mum when I was 13, so like I've always
Mhm.
been raised by my dad. And he's very much always been like the kind of classic sex, drugs, rock and roll kind of vibes, you know, heavily tattooed. He's in bands and stuff like that. And he's always kind of said to me, like, being an individual and being your own person is great. Just protect yourself, and at the end of when it comes to my shows, say if I'm going out for a cigarette and I'm wearing an outfit that's slightly more revealing, like just like a little bit of thigh or something like that, just going out to the front, just in case there's like kids walking past in London streets or something, I'll put like a cover over, a long kind of cloak to cover up my ass and stuff like that. Like at the end of the day,
I would
if
say
you're
that's
going
kindness. That's
out,
kindness.
like if I'm going out into a public space, I'm gonna, not have my ass out.
Right. Well,
But then
that's
the moment
couth.
I get into
Yeah,
that venue,
you're being
I can.
couth. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're being. It's being kind. It's being couth. There's another word that I'm looking for. You're. Yeah. It's polite society, right? It's that like
Yeah.
you can keep that sort of stuff inside of the club, and that's where it belongs. That's where it's supposed to be. That's the good thing for it, right? That's the space where you can take it all off and have people like.
Yeah.
People will get
But
that.
there's a reason that these venues are 18 plus and stuff like that,
Yes.
like.
Yes.
Do you know what? I don't even think I've done a single show which has been an all ages show, and I've been performing for 2.5 years. So honestly, it's not that common to see these shows for younger people. It's not common at all, And I think, like you said, with the people seeing like burlesque dancers and the videos, like, I've seen a few videos of like cabaret burlesque people and some drag queens in like some more revealing outfits and stuff like that. And I don't think that. I feel like if you're going into a space and performing in front of people who are under 18s, you have a responsibility to be appropriate for that performance.
It's just that I've seen an influx, like a ridiculous amount of these video, and this is where it starts to get like a little bit like, I start to go from having my open mind now to when I see this, my knee-jerk reaction is to close that mind down and just go, whoa, okay, we don't like this. This is not good. Is I see an inundation of videos out there of for like toddlers, nearly children putting money in the g-strings of performers, and it's like that is wrong. It's it's not
exactly.
and I feel like that's indefensible. But what kills me is that like then and again, it's a tactical error. Because to me, I think that if you want to retain the moral high ground, then what you do if you're somebody who is within LGBT who is queer, you see something, which I try to do whenever I'm talking about this with my friends who bring this type of things up. I go, yeah, that's like, of course, that's terrible. Like that person should be outed. That person should be like, should be shamed to a degree, because like that's wrong. Like we don't want, that's not, we want to win, but not like that,
Exactly that. Like, I don't want to, in the next like 5-10 years, I don't want what I'm known to be for is being like a person that society hates and
creep.
I don't, from all like these videos coming out, like a lot of the time, like, honestly, about like 90% of the time, they're not drag queens. They're cabaret and burlesque performers, which obviously we all get put into the same category. And then the extreme right people are like, all drag queens are bad and they all do this. Look at this drag queen who allowed children to put money into their thong. But even though it's not a drag queen, it will be a burlesque dancer or something, they'll still put us in that category.
Sure.
And that's what fucking sucks.
So
I know.
I have a question. If a straight person, such as myself, was to dress up in drag for like Halloween type, going to a Halloween party, whatever, is that like offensive? I mean, to a person that does burlesque or drag shows?
That's cultural appropriation, people.
Is that okay? Is it?
I wouldn't say so. I think it would just depend on the way that you do it. Like if you were making yourself to look like a skanky man who's trying to dress like a woman, I think that would be a little bit different. But if you were dressing like a drag queen, that would be more acceptable, I feel like. But that's just my own opinion, though.
So I have to push on that a little bit, just because I have seen some like drag queens that purposefully do that sort of look as like part of the bit. So it's like I wonder, like, where is the line there?
Okay, so all right, so the viewers can't see this, but you guys here on Discord can see this if you look at my screen. So
All right.
This was my outfit one year for Halloween.
All right, I wasn't expecting to see that.
So,
oh my God, beautiful.
So
Queen!
so that's acceptable. I mean, that's.
I would say so, yeah. Because
yeah.
you look camp, you know. You look like you're about to come out and do like a share number or something. I think that's fantastic.
See, my nails are even painted bright red. I mean, I went.
Yeah.
So
that's all 15% on display right there.
That may be a little bit more than 15.
Exactly what B Hearts is saying in the chat is the intentions behind it. Yeah, exactly that. And I must say, from the picture that you put up, you look fabulous, and you actually look like someone I know in real life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you look like a drag queen I know.
I have actually met I've been to a drag show where a performer actually looked very similar to that, Riv. I wonder if we've met in real life now.
We may have.
Yeah, like when I say, like, going back to what you were saying, Riv, like, because I know that, like, on costume websites and stuff, if you type in like drag queen costume, it will come up with this really trashy kind of not a good look. But what you're doing is banging. It's awesome. I love it. I live for it.
Well,
you know, if I were to see you in the street like that, I'd be like, "Hey, queen."
See, I've got a very good friend of mine who he's what I call old school gay, right? He's old like me, right? He's gay, and he and his partner are just a hoot to be around. I think they've been married for they got married as soon as it was legalized here in the States to be married. So that's been been about 10 years or so, I guess now, something like that. But anyway, he has been very encouraging me to go and attend some of the shows that we have. And I said, I have to ask a question because I think it would be a hoot. I love being around gay people, right? Because they just don't they just don't take life too seriously, right? It's always jovial, fun, just upbeat, right? And they're not stick in the muds for the most part, right? They're just, and I love being around people like that. But I had to ask him, I said, if I go in there, like if me and my wife was to go with, say, him and his partner, I said, if we go there, I said, are they going to screw with me?
No, they will not.
Well, he said, hang on. He said 100%.
Oh.
He says, because he said they will come and flirt with you and try to make you a little uncomfortable.
Oh, in that kind of, okay. I get what, yeah.
And I said, well, that's fine. Because I think people that watch me day in and day out on my streams and stuff, right? I'm pretty much a harmless flirt. And I do flirt. I flirt with Max all the time. I flirt with girls all the time. I just flirt with people, period. Right. But it's all in just it's harmless. It's just, I try to make people feel better about themselves. People in real life, I will flirt with people in real life, usually not guys. Cause here in the South, you flirt with a guy, there's a chance there's a chance you could probably get your ass beat. Because there is still some very uptight people, right? And they tend to they're good people, but they're very conservative, in nature, right? And what I mean, so it's not that they hate gays or anything like that. They're just conservative, and they just don't go for the flamboyancy and stuff. So
to add on to that too, I read a book at some point.
You read a book?
I did. I read a few actually in the entirety of my life. But one of them was talking about the psychology around the different types of cultures that exist in certain places. And one of the things that they pointed out about kind of more Southern cultures is the base of what those Southern cultures are is an honor class, right? It's an honor system. And this is it's a deeper sort of honor thing, I think, than a lot of people really understand. It's like personal pride means a lot, your self-image, like your societal image, what people look at you for. So I think it's the vestiges of that, that still exist in society. It's like, there's that, obviously there's that normalcy sort of a thing that they just don't understand the queer life in general. They don't understand queer people. They don't understand the queer thing. But at the same time, I think it's just like, well, you're coming at me specifically. I think that they would have a similar reaction to like somebody trying to flirt with their girl or something like that. It's like the same type of like honorific sort of response where they puff out their chest and they go, oh yeah, no, but like, you know, you're not going to do that sort of thing to me, kind of a thing. It's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like, I'm not trying to downplay that it is, that it is not something related specifically to, you know, queer folk. But what I'm saying is that like, I think that again, this is something that is like, more hyper sensationalized, like more like social media pushes it to make it seem like these people react in this way or would react in that way, when in reality it's like there's all sorts of situations where that person might react that way, and it's not because specifically they have a problem with LGTB, in my experience at least. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it seems to me. It's like because again, like I said, there are other situations where they might react that way, like just as strongly, or if not even more strongly. You know, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like going back to when I mentioned my uncle earlier and how like he's very, very right and stuff like that. Like a few months ago, he just randomly blurted out to my face, "I think what you do is sick and disgusting," right to my face.
Wow.
And I was kind of like, do you know what? My shows aren't meant for you. Like, you're not my target audience. So why are you trying to, you know, I get that you come from like a different time, but like, there's no need for that. There's no need to be so like hostile and horrible, to be honest about it. If you don't like it, just don't get involved with it. It's not that difficult, you know.
Well, it's the same. This is what kills me is I lived through the 90s, and I remember the moral puritanism of, you know, of people talking about rap music and video games and like violent video games and stuff like that. And I remember that all of the cool people that I knew of at the time were saying things like, if you don't like it, change the channel. If you don't like it, turn it off. If you don't like it, don't engage with it. You know, like why is it that we've
say
gotta,
that what 20, 30 years later, you know?
Right. Yeah. And so it's just it's wild to me, you know. But it's all a part of this like weird sort of like cancel culture that happens on both sides of the aisle, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. It's just like that's just what happens. And it's unfortunate because it doesn't need to. Like it just I think that we can find like this is the other thing too, is I think right now we're in the phase where we're just kind of going through it because it's a roller coaster ride. There definitely seems to be a cyclical sort of like at least a pendulum that swings back and forth on a lot of different issues. And with the LGBT issue, I believe the problem has always been that these types of things become more accepted in societies, and then there starts to become some sort of like moral upheaval or moral unrest that ends up happening because of that. And then things end up getting reset back to moral puritanism. And now I think we're at a point in society where I don't know. I mean, I hope that things don't end up becoming cyclical like they were. But I think now we're getting to a point where the pendulum is just going to swing off the chain, and I think this is no longer going to be an issue for people. I hope.
Yeah.
But with that comes a lot of tumult, a lot of turmoil, a lot of issues from people, and that I think, you know, that's what we're all experiencing. That's why things are so weird. That's why you can walk into certain places and think that you're going to have a bad time, but then end up having a great time with people. And then there are other places where you think you might have no problems at all, but then you end up having an issue. It's like that's the description of what that ball coming off the chain for that pendulum is.
Yeah. In London, I don't know if you guys know like anywhere in London or not, but there's a little kind of district called Soho, which is like the gay district of London, and that's where I was assaulted a couple months ago. But then I also went to this venue where it was super posh, you know, proper posh rich Londoners. I was thinking there that I was going to get some kind of, you know, shit or hate crime or whatever. I got nothing there. You know, everyone was lovely, and you know, for me to get the shit in Soho, which was the least expected thing, like everyone is so either one end of the spectrum at the other. Like they're either all good with drag stuff or they're not. Like they're the loudest people at the minute, and that is what is actually kind of scary to a lot of like trans people and drag queens and LGBTQ people in general, you know?
Yeah. All of the problematic people are the people that are the most vocal. That's just the true it's true for any community, any situation. It's just always going to be the case. Unfortunately, people who have Like, because it's not people who are struggling with this. It's not people who are like legitimately trying to put their best foot forward in terms of like understanding a situation. Those are never the people that speak up. Like, they're not the loudest. It's the people who know that they're right. The people who are like, I know that this is the truth. This is the reality or whatever. Because those are the people that feel confident enough to really shove that in other people's faces. And that's the problem. I've always said that, like, you want to call this a culture war, like, go ahead and call it a culture war. But this is a culture war not between left and right. This is a culture war between moderates and extremists.
Yeah.
On all sides.
Good way
That's what I
it.
see.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, going back to my father, who's actually like all right with everything. He's, you know, he's fine with me doing drag, fine with everything. And he is the kind of person who, you know, he could be a very good ally to all of this shit going on. He's like the perfect kind of person to speak up on issues and stuff. But because he's so kind of like, yeah, just let people do what they like with what they want in their lives, you know, he's so chill about everything. He doesn't get involved on, like, he doesn't speak up. But people like that, they'll be the best kind of people to speak up because they're not super loud about everything. But us queer people, we can't have it all the way that we want all the time. So, you know, we're just gonna have to accept that for the most part, we're gonna have to do the work. But, you know, people get, like, everyone else is getting a lot better. Like, I've never been able to come onto a stream with anyone and openly talk about me being trans so easily and open and stuff like that, because I'm always worried about, like, what kind of person's going to be on the other end, possibly judging or something like that. But just being able to come into a space where, like, it's all chill and it is what it is. I'm comfortable here, and I've got to say thank you both for being so great, you know.
Well, thank you for sharing. No,
yes,
I mean, it's a great thing.
Exactly, and I'm glad, honestly, that you felt comfortable calling in. I'm glad that you felt welcome here. You know, I know a lot of people think, oh, because he's old and whatever, that, and I'm not hip. I'm not hip to a lot of the new things or whatever. I get that, right? But I think I'm at a great place in my life that I've lived long enough to understand that I don't have all the answers. And the only way that I would get any answers is by having a conversation. As long as it's respectful, we may part at the end of the conversation. And guess what? I may not see exactly eye to eye with you on some things, but
yeah, absolutely,
I could still have respect for you as a person and treat you as such. Now, so I ran a poll, and the chat voted that they wanted to see the picture. So I'm going to show you guys the picture. So here's the picture. This was a few years ago when I was a lot younger, but I'm still sexy, just as sexy, I feel. But yeah, we were going out to a Halloween gathering with some friends, and I dressed, and I think I was quite sexy. I think I was, beautiful. So,
Riv, if I saw you walking on the street, I would have a hard time not catcalling you. That's all I'm saying.
Would you grab my tushy and make me squeak?
Asshole. How dare you throw that back in my face? I said that in confidence, sir.
But I had one of my viewers send me a message on Discord, and they brought up a very, very, I think, good question. So here's a little bit more from my period or my time, right? So we have Uncle Milty, right? Milton Burns.
Yeah.
He was famous for going in drag and dressing in drag, right? And
wow.
Yeah, so he was, and if I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but I think it was well known that even back then he was gay, right?
Yeah.
But he wasn't the only one, right? You have Flip Wilson. Flip Wilson had a character that he played, which was, oh Lord, what was her name? Geraldine, right?
Yes.
So, we've had even and this was back. This was okay. These are not Photoshop pictures. They're not black and white. That's what it was back in the day of my age. You had black and white television, right? Everything wasn't colorized, right? We had to wait 30 minutes for the TV to come on because the tubes had to get warm up inside them.
Yeah,
right?
to be fair, it's very hard for LGBT to get any traction when there's like not a rainbow that can be seen on screen. So
exactly,
I feel like
right. So and of course you've got Robin Williams. And you've got Dustin Hoffman, right?
Yeah.
And these guys,
we in the UK. Sorry, go on.
No, these guys were all accepted. They were beloved. They were loved. I mean, for crying out loud, you even got one here where you got Bob Hope that
Oh, wow.
So what is this? Horace Milton Berle and Bob Hope.
Let me ask you. So because this is something that I always try to have. Because I've been to actually a great number of drag shows at this point. Just because of the gay film that I'm working on, but also just because personal interests, let's call it.
Yeah.
And drag shows, drag queens. The point of that, and I understand that this is also a spectrum, so it's not all the way on this, but the point of them is to be over the top, right? The point of it is to have an exaggeration of more feminine qualities, specifically with drag queens, right? It's just like it's just I think that people don't understand that either. Like I think that it's like the point, because I have talked to a few people on the more conservative side of things that see this and they go like, it's just so over the top. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's the point.
That's the point.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, again, it's a problem of like people aren't communicating properly. They're not able to understand that the reason for that being so over the top in the way that it is because like that's by design. It's like to them, they see it as like, oh, but it's so in your face. It's like, well, yes, but that's the point. It's like these people have never gone to see like Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's like that. It's like it's that sort of energy where it's like, yes, it's absurd. It's in your face. That's exactly. It's punk rock. Like that's really what it is.
Like, I don't know if you can see from my profile picture on Discord or not, but like my drag style is complete like fuckery. I always use fake blood and everything. I'm all rock and punk and gory and stuff like that.
I'm posting your Twitter in the chat. Is that okay?
Pardon, sorry? Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay, I was just making sure. Yeah, go
my
follow
pictures. I don't mind.
Yeah, go follow.
Yeah, like the whole reason that I do that particular style of drag is because before I came out, that was kind of almost how I looked when I was in my hyper feminine stage, and I thought, do you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to use an over-exaggeration of what used to be what I thought was me and just make it into this crazy bitch and just do big old expressions and,
this is what we used to call art.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. I mean, damn, the fucking amount of time that it takes to get on the makeup, may as well be doing a fucking 5-hour-long painting, I tell you that.
Sure. But that's it's a breakdown of cultures. It's a breakdown of communication. It's a misunderstanding for like what that really means. So one of the things that I thought was the most interesting and what I always try to bring up whenever I'm talking to more specifically religious people with this context is just the over the course of the film that I've been producing, we did a few interviews, and one of the things that became very clear to me at a certain point was that, like, maybe these more religious people have churches or synagogues or temples or mosques, and then on the other side of things, with the LGBT, their version of churches are LGBT gay bars, right? Exactly. Yeah. I didn't even have to say no, because it's true. It's just like everybody knows this because that's a place that you can go to do your own sort of self-reflection, which is like in a sense worship. That's a very similar. It's like it's got parody to it. So it's like you don't understand. Like that's why it has such an importance, like these, because also too, gay bars are also the place where people do activism. It's where people talk about things. Yeah. It's like, it's not uncommon for somebody in the community to pass away, and then for them to stop the show in the middle of the night, at the peak of the night, and say, we would just like to give like a small little eulogy to somebody in our community. This is like, that's something that would never fucking happen at a straight bar. Like that.
Exactly.
So it's a different scene. It's a different situation.
But I was actually I don't know if you know who Lily Savage is, Paul
Yes.
O'Grady. Yeah, obviously they recently died like a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago, and I was actually meant to perform at the bar where Lily Savage got arrested back in like the 80s. I was meant to perform in that venue on the night that she died, and people were like, like the kind of a lot of the older kind of generation that I know personally, they've all kind of been like, do you know what, we forgot about Lily Savage and how much of an icon she was to UK culture, and how much like a daytime name she was. She wasn't over sexualized, and she wasn't,
Right.
you know,
Right.
quote unquote grooming children,
No.
shit like that. It's just entertainment.
That's the thing. It's hard because again, there is a truth to what these people are saying. With there are certain people out there. It's a minority of people, but of course, it's always the
Exactly.
vocal minority that people film
Yeah.
and whatever. I think also too there is an element of this, and I think maybe Riv might understand maybe more because I don't know because this is like an older thing, and I'm not sure if like it's like how popular it is. But John Waters made a lot of different films
Yes.
and stuff talking about explaining this sort of
Yeah.
thing. What is it? Is it? I can't remember exactly the character's name. Is it Classy Divine? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Divine, yeah.
Yeah.
With, like,
Like,
Pink Flamingos and films like that. I love John Waters. He's
yeah.
brilliant.
So, but that's
Yeah.
again something that's supposed to be over the top punk rock, in your face, like ridiculous, like
Exactly.
gross out humor to a degree as well.
Yeah.
And I think again, like the problem I think with the older generation is that they see that's the type of things that they see in their mind, I believe, when they're thinking about drag queens a lot of the time. And it's
Yeah.
like it served a purpose within the community to be able to like have people be more comfortable with being out there by basically making the broader, bigger umbrella, going
Yeah.
like so over the top that it's the Overton window, right? You go so far to one direction that now the middle point becomes like more easier for some people. So I just wonder if maybe that's an element of why this is so contentious as well.
I do think
Divine was
so.
literally saying eat shit, like it's like
She-
that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, in Pink Flamingo, she did actually eat
Pink
dog
Flamingo.
shit.
I
So
couldn't remember the name of the film. Yes, Pink Flamingo. You got
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Eat
she
dog
actually ate
shit.
dog
Yeah,
shit.
be queer. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it be oh I know the line. I know exactly what one you were
got
going to
it. Yeah,
reference.
I can't remember what it is.
Eat shit, be gay, do crime, something like that.
That's the
But,
one. Yeah, it's something like that.
yeah.
Actually, is that where? I think you're right. I think that is actually where be gay, do crime comes from.
Where it all came from. Like Divine was such a huge influence in my drag because it kind of she made me kind of realize that I didn't have to be a pretty female impersonator. I could be as gross and gritty as I fucking wanted, and that's what drag's about. It's not about just female impersonation or male impersonation. It's the performance.
Right. And in other arts and other things, there are a greater pool of people that you can choose from to be able to try to emulate, right? Whereas it's because the drag shows, the drag queens, it's a burgeoning sort of a thing. It's only really been able to exist like fully out there in the way that it is, like for a limited amount of time now. So I think as time goes along, maybe it'll get a little bit more, as things do, just more mild, more. And I think maybe even, RuPaul's Drag Race, things like that are kind of like that it's becoming the more mild version of that, because those types of performance, like that show is not always burlesque. It's not always so over the top. It can be a little bit more subdued. And that's, I think, where you get to the more neutral sort of positions. And that's where people's minds get changed.
It's such a strange area. Like RuPaul's Drag Race, a lot of people now think that drag queens have to be like the ones on RuPaul's Drag Race,
right?
Which can actually be quite harmful to the drag community. Not harmful, that's not the right word. But
no, I understand what you mean, though. Yeah.
Like, people like me, like, I'll send a patient to a show or something like that. One time I've been told that my act is only exclusive for Halloween, which is a little bit of a punch in the tit.
Ooh.
But that's my style, and I'm not going to change my style. So fuck them. I've got other gigs anyway.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, it's art. It's entertainment. It's like people will have their preferences, and that's part of it as well. But it's I don't know. People like to judge acts. That's the nature of art as well, unfortunately.
Like there'll be so many times when I'm performing, like I don't wear boobs or anything like that when I'm performing. And they'll see like my really, really hairy man chest, and they'll be like so confused because they'll think that like, oh, drag queen's meant to be all smooth and soft and womanly, but no, here I am with my fucking fucking hairy. Oh my god, sorry.
Those are honestly my favorite floats at the gay pride parades, where I
Yeah.
can't, because there's different there. I'm not as familiar with the different terms of drag, but isn't there like a subsection of drag that is supposed to be like more masculine? Like they'll do
Yeah, like drag
the
kings.
drag. Well, I'm not all the way to that, but it's like they'll do, crazy. Like they'll basically look like divine, but they just also will have like full on beards and like
Oh
hairy
yeah.
chests and all that. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
remember what the name of that is, but that exists as well. It's like
Yeah.
again, but
Yeah,
you're judging. You're judging something that's supposed to be. It's like, yeah, it's over the top. It's in your face. That's the whole point, is to make you
yeah,
feel kind of different, kind of strange about it. But to be honest,
yeah.
too, in a way, that is also a criticism that I do have of LGBT, the movement. The bigger, broader, corporation of it, is that like what makes that is the fact that it is over the top. We can't
Mhm.
shift societal standards to say that is acceptable too. Otherwise, it loses the veneer that it's trying to have in the art, in the way
Yeah.
that it's trying to portray it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I get what you mean.
there's a middle ground here. It's like
Mm.
this issue should not be black and white, and it's really sad to me that it
Absolutely.
has
I
been
can
so
still do it, and I'll
hyperpolarized that
whip it
now it
out
is a
when
problem
I
of like,
need to.
well, the left likes it and the right doesn't. It's like, well, it doesn't have,
Mm.
it doesn't have to be that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, my dad is coming to see me for the first time in drag at the end of the month, and like I've already told him what he can and can't expect kind of thing, but he's just kind of
Yeah.
like, do you know what? It's going to be a fun performance night. It's all full of different acts. I just want to see some good entertainment,
Yeah.
and that's what it is, like this particular show that I'm doing next week. There's going to be a couple of drag queens. Well, actually, this actually, funnily enough, goes back to like the kind of the religious aspect of things that you were saying earlier. Like this show that I'm doing, it's called the Queer Spirit Cabaret, and it's all about spirituality and and stuff like that. And the last time I did it, they had this beautiful, like, not like a prayer moment, but like a general breathe in the moment, get ready for tonight, get all ready for the full moon and stuff like that. It's all nicely, all sparkles and stuff like that. And like it felt like such a beautiful atmosphere, like some people think that because you're queer you can't be religious or anything like that, but this particular show that I'm doing, it shows that like religion is so open about this,
Yeah.
and people just don't actually know how open religion is about queer people. It's quite an eye-opener even for me. So
Yeah. I mean,
you can still be completely religious and do drag and everything,
well, that's the thing is, yeah, exactly. It's it doesn't. These two things do not have to be, they don't have to be opposite. Like they don't have to be on different sides of whatever track. You can have both.
Mm,
That was
exactly.
the interesting thing. Like I said, I was atheist for a long period of my life. I was in a relationship recently that was the other person was more religious than me and would take me to churches and things like that. And it was an interesting experience just for somebody kind of coming into that, and like especially in Orlando, because every
Mm,
church in Orlando, there's a lot of churches in Orlando, but because there's a particular road in the actual city called Church Street, and it's just that's where it gets its name, is because there's so many churches. And we went to
wow.
quite a few, and I was very surprised, given that I had not gone to many churches, how open and okay with a lot of that they were, and talking about
Mm,
it like ad nauseum, like just almost out of the blue, just kind of just leaving that door open to say this is acceptable, this is like some of them
yeah.
even going as far to some going as far just to outright say that we're fully accepting of that, and like we, who are we to judge,
Mm,
but some of them even saying like we may not agree, we may not understand, but we can at least have respect and show people dignity. And I thought
yeah.
that was like that's as good as
I
you can
love
get.
that.
I think if that's as
Yeah.
good as you can get, that's fine. But one of the things that frustrated me quite a bit in working on this film, and I don't think it's going to be something that we're going to keep in the film just because it doesn't really have a good context to bring it up. But we were interviewing it was a gay man who is, I believe, the current police chief of Orlando.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a higher up position. I don't remember if I don't know if he's that right now or if he's like a vice or something like that. But he's a higher up person within law enforcement in Orlando. And we were talking to him about this stuff, and he said something that I thought was a little bit troubling. And maybe it's just a difference in perspective. And again, like maybe this is just his life experience, and this has led him to that understanding of it, and that's fine. But he said that tolerance or acceptance was not enough, that there had to be outward support of these types of things. And I had a little bit of a back and forth with him on it. Like I said, probably not going to be in the film, but just to say that, like, it's hard for me to like, I understand the want. Like, I understand the want for everybody to just like lay down their arms and just be fully accepting, like, like not only fully accepting, but also like fully supportive of whatever it is. But there are plenty of things in society that somebody might disagree with you on. That's a personal life choice that, like, they don't have to like shout it from the heavens, you know, like goth or something like that. It's like there are plenty of people out there who look at goth people and go, "What is that? Like, I don't even know what that is. Like, what this is strange. Like, it's like satanic or something, right?" It's like,
that's something that funnily enough, I actually get that a lot.
Oh yeah. So you understand? It's like, but that's the thing is, like, so it's a different thing to look at a goth person and say, like, I don't get it, but like they can do them, like, good for them, like I'm happy for them, kind of a thing. I don't understand it. I wouldn't wear it. I wouldn't even maybe necessarily engage with anybody who wears that because I have my own personal whatevers, right? Like, I think that's. Like, I think because it comes down to personal preference for everybody, for everything. It's like, I think that is okay. I don't understand the mentality that it's like, you have to have people accept you. Like you have not accept, you have to have people sing your praises over that. It's like, shouldn't we get to a point in society where, like I said, with the holding the door example for the for the paraplegic, it's like, that's just like, it's the neutral position. We don't want the purse puppying. We want the neutral, right?
Exactly.
Am I wrong on that, or is that
No, you are 100%. Like I said at the beginning, like, I don't, you know, I would not like to be introduced as, hello, this is Rese, he's my trans friend. Like, you know, that's same goes, hi, this is Matt, he doesn't have a leg. You know, like,
it'd be,
I mean, obviously,
exactly.
we do that, but still.
Right. Well,
you know. Yeah.
It'd be weird if it was like, it's like, this is my friend Ed. He's black. It's like, what? Okay, I can see he's black. Like, you don't have to tell me.
Exactly. Like,
but it's
stuff
hard
like
though
that.
too. That's hard though too with the pronoun thing, because that is something that does in some cases need to be pretty much stated up front. And I've seen that happen quite a bit, where it's like, how do you bridge that gap? Because you don't want to, like, for me, I never want to purse puppy anybody. I never want to other them.
Yeah.
But it's very hard because I've been in certain circumstances where I go up and I talk to somebody, and I do honestly have that thing. It's like that little biting sort of feeling in the back of my head where I go, should I ask this person what their pronouns are? Because there are, we do live still in that day and age where it's like, most people are okay and accepting of the they them pronoun. But there are some people who don't like that. You know, there are some people who want to be known as like their specific pronoun, and it's like, fair enough, I would give that to them, but I can't read minds, and I don't want to even offend somebody by asking necessarily.
And, you know, if I were to give my personal opinion on that, there is no harm in asking someone their pronouns. You know, there is absolutely no harm in doing that, as long as you're kind of, you know, it's the as long as you're respectful about, like, hey, excuse me, what are your pronouns? They, them? Cool, banging, carry on. You know, like,
I usually try to find a good time to do that. But my sense of it is that, to me, I believe that proper nouns are a lot more important than pronouns. I think that as long as you're getting somebody's name right, and if you want to refer to somebody, it is always acceptable to use their name. So you don't even need to use they, them. You could just say, like, Rese said this, Rese said that, Rese went over there. I don't have to be like, he went over here, or he went over there, whatever, like she went over, whatever, you know, whatever the pronoun is. So
I agree. I completely agree with that. Yeah, completely.
There you go.
Well, guys, I hate to do this because I think this has been an excellent conversation. I think it's probably a conversation that probably needs to be had more often. I think that people need to be allowed to, if they don't have necessarily a platform, they need to be given a platform and let them speak, let them share their experiences. But that being said, I'm going to have to end it because I have to get ready to go on a holiday. So a little vacation, a little getaway. Yeah. So, but I want to just say, first of all, Rese, thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and sharing your journey and your experiences because
no problem.
Because I this is someone in the chat was talking about that this is my show and whatever, but I said yes, but this is not my world, right? This is Rese's world, this is Max's world, and so they can tell us, they can share with us. I can't. This is not something I could share because it's not my world. It's not my life. And
sorry, I was going to say, I really, really appreciate you for giving me this chance to be able to explain everything. And for anyone else you guys are in the chat, if you do have any questions about trans people, drag queen, anything, feel free to ask me. I'm not going to get offended. I'm here to help people, educate, whatever.
Yeah.
Feel free to ask me questions. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Yes, I will say this, Rese, you have been very, very pleasant. I mean, you don't always know what like you said, you don't always know what you're going to get when you engage in a conversation, especially about something like this, because unfortunately, still to this day, it is a polarizing topic to be,
exactly.
And there's such extremities and there's such swings on both sides. The bottom line that I will always tell my coffee beans is this: just love people, even those that are sometimes the hardest to love. Find a way to love them if you can, and just be respectful. I don't think anybody wants really more than that. What was it Max said? Don't puppy purse them or whatever.
Yeah,
purse puppy them. But just love them. Just let them be them, right? As long as they're not doing harm to you or anybody else, just let them exist. It may not be your thing. It may not be your bag. It may not be something that but doesn't mean that you have to show up and chastise them and picket fence them and segregate them off over here to where, out of sight, out of mind. Just let them exist.
Amen.
Yes, so. I agree 100%. I'll leave you with this because thanks, Ray, for having me on. I appreciate it. Always a fun.
Yeah.
And thank you, Rese, for being here as well too.
No, thank you. It's very, very wonderful to talk to both of you.
So two things that I have been thinking about quite a bit over the past couple of days, and I'll leave you. It's really quick. Yeah. It's just that there's two things that kind of presented themselves to me, and it's truths that it's helped me a lot. Is the opposite of truth is nihilism. I think that it not literally, but figuratively, right? It's just the idea that the opposite of what is true, of what is reality, what is the whatever is a negativity, right? The truth is an optimistic sort of a thing. It's something to be or it should be looked at in that way. And in that same vein, I would also say that the truth cannot set you free unless delivered with hope. And that's what I think about that's what I try to think about the most when I am dealing with people who I find to be distasteful or to have, weird, strange opinions that I just don't quite understand or perspectives that I don't understand, is that it could be that they're just going through it, and I have hope for those people. I feel as though they can find I believe that if I can find it within myself to be understanding of people from all different types of perspectives, even ones that I find to be maybe I think or I have the perception that these things are evil, but I still believe, I know that there are people out there who have that thought and that process, and maybe they're wrong, so the hope that they can do better is what actually is the truth that will set the world free, so that's all I wanted to say.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you
It's a bit
guys.
hippy dippy, but there you go.
That's all right. But again, thank you guys both for coming on. I'm going to mute you guys up if you don't mind, and I'm going to just say
I'm
goodbye.
gonna dip. I gotta go. So have a good one, everybody. Bye.
All right, thanks back. And
Bye.
again,
And thanks for having me on, people. I'm going to peace out as well, and I'll be in the chat for the last little bit.
all right, thank you, Rese. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. So listen, Coffee Beans, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you staying with me. Hopefully you guys appreciate the extra long coffee with Peepaw this morning. I know I did. I enjoyed our time together. Just remember, Dave should be having a stream tonight. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be there because I will be having a wonderful dinner with my beautiful wife this evening, and having just a little relaxing weekend, kind of getting away. Much needed little break. I'm going to do my very, 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 very best to not be on any social media after this show ends today. So if you try to get a hold of me on, Twitter or Discord or anything else, you're probably not going to get me. I'm going to completely and totally unplug between now and probably either late Sunday evening or early or Monday morning. I will be back to do my show Monday morning. And of course we'll have the Monday show with Zolly over on Dave's. But between now and then, listen, there's a lot of content out there that's been dropped. There's a lot of really good creators and stuff. Go out and support them. Show them a little support, show them a little love. If there's a video that you guys like that a creator has made, one of the best things you can do, like it, 100% like it leave a little comment down below in the section of the feedback section below on the video, but tweet it out and tag that creator saying, hey, listen, I appreciate this video you did. Tweet it out. Let your friends know about it. Let the Twitter sphere know about it. Help boost that video. If it's one that you really like, that you really enjoy, let them know about it, right? Tweet it out and let them know about it. I know when somebody tweets out one of my videos or they take a clip of it, one of my shows or something like that. When they do something like that, that blesses me. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Thank you for giving me the precious commodity of time and sharing it with me and putting that out. And that does mean a lot to me. Again, thank you so much to both Max and Rese for coming on today. We did get one donation there at the end. As a $1 donation, says Hedwig and the Angry Inch. I didn't know what that was. So I actually went out and looked that up, and it was actually start off with a book, and it was made into a screenplay. It was about the word was, I think they were trans queer, I think is what it said, was a fictional character, and they were the lead singer for a German band. I haven't seen it. I wasn't aware of it. I am now. And if I can find some way to go out and view or watch it, I will to see what it's all about. Hopefully it's not dubbed. I'm not pretentious. I do watch movies that have, I have to read the English subtitles or whatever. But I don't necessarily particularly care for those, but again, I don't know where the movie was made or anything, or if there is even a movie out there. But anyway,
I can still do it, and I'll whip it out when I need to.
Hang on here. JFA just tipped $5. Says, "Don't leave us alone. Sacrifice vacation for the coffee beaners." You know what, JFA? Here's the thing. I appreciate that sentiment. I really do. But here's the thing that you have to keep in mind. Sometimes we have to unplug and we have to take a little step back. We have to allow our fuel tanks to get refilled so that when we come back, we're able to continue to entertain, to continue to hopefully have conversations like we did today. At least I have to. I have to allow my mind to get, back, focused on things, because here's the deal. I sometimes get the content brain, and sometimes I become fixated on things that really shouldn't matter. And I don't keep an eye on the big picture. I start getting very drilled down onto little minuscule things that don't matter. And I think I have been guilty of that in the last couple of 3 days. And I don't like that about myself. And so this is a break that I think is going to allow me, to come back Monday. And here's the great thing too, right? Remember, I'm off Monday. I took the day off from work Monday too. So, we'll get to have another extended, we'll get to have an XXL version of Peepaw, Coffee with Peepaw Monday. But like I say, in between now and then, go out there and find those creators, share the content that they're creating, tweet it out, let them know that you're appreciating them. It means a lot to them. It does to me, so I know it does to them as well. But until next time, guys, remember, keep your powder dry, and I'll see you in the funny papers.